I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. As it seems like Rick Carlisle's embracing Team Tank over here, does it not? Like, yeah, we might not see our best players from here on out. It's possible. I don't know. Let's wait and see over here.
I mean, Coach Carlisle can continue to fight the good fight, and I support him as a head coach doing that. But as a Pacers fan, yeah, we're Team Ping Pong Balls. If you want to join us, we've got plenty of room in the boat, Coach. You're welcome. Welcome to. Please. We'll make
I like
room for
that.
you.
Team Ping. You know?
Team Ping, yeah.
We need Team Ping Pong Balls over here. I like that. We'll circle back to the Pacers, but we got some college hoops news to start this thing, Jimmy. Oh, and we're going to have some fun with comps. This is the season for quarterback comps. So we have it for this year's draft, and I did a little quick search. It is comedy looking at comps from the 2018 draft, where there were 5 first-round picks as far as quarterbacks go. So we'll have some fun with that in a few minutes. But let's start with college hoops here. Jalen Hood-Schifino from IU, the guard. He's declared for the NBA draft. He is adios muchachos in terms of college basketball. Projects, and this is fluid, right? Right now, late teens, early 20s, the NBA draft projections. Of course, the combine is a big deal, but I said before the show started to you guys, you, Jimmy, and Eddie Garrison is with us also. It's amazing when you watch JHS in the college game, and there were times the game against Purdue on the road, he was sensational. You see the playmaking ability, but then there are other games where you're like, he's got some work to do, and that guy, he's going to be in the NBA. You talk about being thrown into the deep end. That is it, baby. You got 1 year in college, and you are out to the NBA.
I mean, the process itself, or the idea of that process of one and done, is not to you or I or to college basketball a foreign concept. It can be daunting when you look at, as you mentioned, all the hits he played and all the misses he had at times as well. I'm not, as an Indiana alum, but also stepping away as like an unbiased third party, I'm not surprised by the move. I think everybody kind of expected this was going to happen. He was going to be a one-and-done product. That was the feel for most of the year. And I think there was enough good put on the tape to where whether he is in the low teens or maybe he rises up inside the top 10, I think that he could have a very promising NBA career if he gets into the right spot where he can continue to work and grow on the negatives that we've pointed out.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not hating on this decision. Right. I'm just saying, man, you talk about going from the college game and that level of competition to the NBA. It's just, you were in floaties in the shallow end in college. Now you're in the deep end in rocky waters. We just saw Drew Holiday of the Bucks go off for 51 points. And that's an all-star caliber point guard. He's been an all-star twice in his career. Think about that. Think about Hood-Schifino going up against Penn State's Jalen Pickett and the booty ball approach and just backing JHS down. And you're going to go up against such a wide range of guards in the NBA. Skilled, powerful. It's going to be quite the test. And I wish them all the best. I'm not questioning the decision. Right. I'm just saying it is an uphill climb to not only get up to snuff where you're an average player, but to be a better than average player on that level after one season, that is quite the task right there.
There are a lot of reasons for him, and there's no denying that. I totally agree with you, just to get that out front. Like it is a daunting task for anybody that's going to commit to go to the NBA after one season when, you're not a slam dunk like top 5 pick, right? We usually give grace period to those type of players when you think of the Anthony Davises of the world or that type of collection of talent that they were one and dones and people knew they were going to excel at the next level. There was still a learning curve for AD. For Jalen Hood-Schifino, only 19 years old, still very much in the developmental stage of his basketball career. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be overnight success, but it's a decision. You have to know the mountain that's in front of you, but you also have to believe in yourself enough to think you can climb it, and I think you can.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is I hope he gets to a good situation where, they don't throw him. It's almost like a treadmill. You don't put it on the highest incline at the highest speed, right? It's not like you throw him into the starting lineup and it's like, all right, go get him. Today you got John Morant, tomorrow Drew Holiday. He's probably going to be running with the second unit and facing other second units more than not in his rookie year, maybe his first couple of seasons. So that like lowers the climb. If it's the treadmill thing again, instead of like a 10.0 incline, that's more of like a 4.0 incline. You just kind of ease him in. So the smart coaches will be able to do that.
Yeah, and the one thing that pops into my mind, fair or not fair, it's just the recent memory of IU prospects or IU guards, and I'm just talking within the last 5 seasons. You look at Romeo Langford, another like highly touted 5-star recruit at the time. He ends up going to Indiana. He's there for, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Eddie, he was there for 2 seasons, right? Not just the one, or was he one and done?
Romeo was one and done.
So Romeo was also one and done. So my point remains the same there, where to your larger conversation here, Brian, that's another Indiana guard that is at the young age of 18 or 19 years old when he makes the jump. And for Romeo, it wasn't the rainbows and butterflies that you hope it's going to be as a pro. It still hasn't been. He spent a lot of time in the G League, spent 3 years in Boston. He's in San Antonio right now, has played 4 games there this season. I mean, it has its ups and downs, and if you don't hit right away, you have to have the type of mental fortitude, the support group, and the belief in yourself to keep fighting, or your NBA career is not going to last long. Romeo's still there, but it has not been what I think it was perceived to be or told to him it would be when he committed to make the jump.
For sure. Yeah, hopefully it's smoother for Jalen Hood-Schifino, but time will tell. Time will tell. He's going to take that jump to the next level. And, hey, we wish him all the best. How about Zach Edey, sticking with college basketball? The Purdue big man named AP Men's College Basketball Player of the Year, nearly unanimous. Edey received all but one of the 58 votes. It's a 58-person media panel. The only other guy to get a vote, Trace Jackson Davis of IU. Yeah. So how about that? Edey gets 57 of the votes. Trace Jackson Davis gets one of them.
I want to correct one thing before I answer that. I looked at 2021-2022 when Romeo only played 4 games. He's played in 39 games this year for the Spurs, so a jump there in terms of his playing time. Back to the Zach Edey comment, though. Look, he was at times the crowned king of college basketball for the majority of the season. There was a little bit of pushback, like maybe Trace Jackson Davis was fully in that conversation. Maybe he could overtake him. This is like the midpoint of the year, and then Zach Edey continued to be the consistent, dominant machine that he was pretty much the entirety of the college basketball season. This is the first of what I think is many awards coming his way in this end-of-season awards as we approach that bridge.
And, of course, bittersweet for Edey, as Purdue got bounced in the first round by Fairleigh Dickinson. And Edey talked about that. He said, quote, "The season ended in disappointment, which really sucks. But it's always nice to win individual accolades. Kind of validates your work a little bit. The last 3 years I've played here, I've seen my game grow every year. AP Player of the Year is a great feeling. It just kind of stinks the way the season ended," end quote. Yeah, that's to put it mildly, man. That's got to be absolutely bittersweet where you get this individual accolade. And, of course, the team goes into that as well. But you get bounced by FDU, one and done. That's rough, man. I look at it where at least Edey isn't getting clowned the way an NBA MVP does. You know what I mean? Like, there have been years where James Harden, I remember, won MVP, and it's after the postseason, and the Rockets fizzle out, and it's like, oh, yeah, some MVP he is. Oh, yeah, go get your award, beard, and all that. It's not the same type of brushback when it comes to a college player. And I think that's refreshing because there could be plenty. Losing to FDU is a recipe for smack talk if you would like to go down that lane.
Yeah, and it's an easy smack talk point. It will always be a smack talk point. But at the same time, at least how I've always perceived it, and I know it's kind of more of a gray area within the college ranks, but I think of the whole body of work, but also how dominant were you across the course of the year. There were no hiccups for Zach Edey. Even against Fairleigh Dickinson, he still got his in that game, despite the fact that he was limited at times. They were throwing triple teams at him, and basically knowing they're going to beat us one of 2 ways. We're going to gamble and hope they miss threes, which is what happened. We've all seen the box score. We all watched the game. Edey was still, though, the pinnacle force to be reckoned with. It is bittersweet, though. It's a great way to phrase it because there were larger expectations for this Purdue team. Maybe not to start the year by the media, but internally, yeah, they felt like they had a good group. They felt like the sky could be the limit, and it came crashing down. So it's that ESPN article started out that he had the phone off, and he was, kind of keeping to himself for a first couple weeks after that loss to FDU. And it is nice, though, I'm sure, to have some type of recognition or reminder, hey, season didn't end the way you wanted it to, but you were phenomenal throughout the whole year.
I think it makes it even tougher. If you go down swinging with your best punch Let's like literally make it a boxer where your best punch is your uppercut, and you threw 15 uppercuts and you only landed one, and okay, but whatever. At least you threw it, And Zach Edey to not get a field goal attempt in the final 13 minutes and 30 seconds against FDU. Like I jokingly, half seriously call Bryce Young, the Alabama quarterback, the Smurf, because he kind of is. But Fairleigh Dickinson, good Lord, if you want to talk about Smurfs over there, they the shortest team in college basketball, and Edey doesn't get a field goal attempt in the final 13-plus minutes of that game. I know he had a couple of free throws, but they dictated pace. They dictated what Purdue did and what shots they got. That makes it even more difficult, I think, to accept your season coming to an end and a defeat like that. If Edey had, I don't know, let's say 5-7 field goal attempts down the stretch and he only made one, yeah, you'd wrestle with that. But I think it's way worse not having those field goal attempts in the final 13 plus.
For the team or for him individually?
Both.
I agree with the team aspect, and I'm sure it hurts him regardless, because if you're the best player on your team, you're always going to feel like, I could have done more. I could have done this. I could have put myself in better situations. I could have tried to avoid or corral out of those double and triple teams a little bit better. But, and we remember it well, the defensive game plan that FDU put into play was, we know we're the smallest team. We're going to battle the heck out of Zach Edey and send everything his way all night and make somebody else beat us. You're always going to live with that chip on your shoulder as the best player on your ball club, but I don't know there's much else he could have done with how his game is structured and the defensive game plan that FDU laid on the table those final 13 minutes of action.
Unless there are like 3-4 guys surrounding him, like they're sharks, like surrounding
Sure.
A surfer on his surfboard with like a little cut on his left knee or something. You know what I mean? Like, unless they're doing that, fine. The shortest team facing a couple of double teams, like you got to do better than no field goal attempts in the final 13 minutes. That's insane.
I mean, look, I remember a lot of those moments where, because he is also such a good passer, you're going to rely on your teammates when they have open looks. Should he have maybe been a little bit more dominant and selfish? I'm not going to sit here and argue that.
I will. I'll argue that.
No, I'm not going to argue with you about it because,
I got you. Right. I got it. Yeah.
Maybe he should have, but additionally, I'd put less on Edey and more on, those were some wide open looks all night.
I know, and they kept on missing those wide open looks left and right. Yeah, I just think of Shaq.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, back in the day, he'd be like, "Give me the effing ball now, give it to me."
Yes.
And I want to see more of that from Zach Edey, especially on the college level. But
he did make a dunk with a minute to play. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at box scores. That's first half stuff. Anyway, your larger point is true. I mean, you need to be in an era where the big man is going to be the true alpha. And if you're asking me, would Shaq have done that, or would Patrick Ewing? Yeah, you're right. They probably would have been a little bit more aggressive in that action through the final 3 minutes. I would also argue, though, that Shaq or Ewing might not have trusted their guys from downtown in the way that the game is played today.
It's a balance. It really is a balance. And we always hear this where it's like, hey, you need to have some dogs on your team.
Yeah.
You hear that all the time, and it's like, okay, well, what does that really mean? I think Purdue against FDU is a great example of that. Like, I'm not saying that Edey has no dog in him, but he needs more. He needs more in a situation like that. Now, I'm not trying to dog his season. He had a sensational season, ranked 6th nationally in scoring, about 22 points a game, 2nd in rebounding, about 13 boards a game, 1st in double-doubles with 26. So he had a sensational season. Also, I love this nugget. First player since Navy's David Robinson, the Admiral, in 85-86 to have at least 750 points, 450 rebounds, and 50 block shots in a season.
Man.
So it's tough, right? Like, unless you win a championship, your game, that's the final impression. Like, that's the last impression. Now, it's a much different last impression when you lose to a 16 seed. You know, it's not like you lost on a buzzer beater to a 3 seed or something like that. But we shouldn't, forget about the entire body of work just because of the last sour note there.
No, I'm right there with you. It has to be the large body of work within your voting process. I think that the voting process reflected that for AP Player of the Year, but both can be true, right? I mean, you're going to be, if you're an alpha on a team like that, you're always going to have second guesses of maybe I should have been a little bit more selfish than I was down the stretch. There's no doubt about that.
By the way, last little nugget here, that ESPN story that you checked out, Jimmy. Yeah. It says that Edey, when he was growing up in Toronto, he was big into hockey and baseball. He was 6'2" by the time he was in 6th grade, and everybody was just like, play basketball, dude. You're you're tall already. Like, play hoops. And he didn't like it. He wanted to avoid it because he kept on getting pushed toward playing basketball. But then he started to play competitively, fell in love with the sport. The rest is history. As of right now, he was just named the AP College Player of the Year. But I think it's hilarious to envision Zach Edey just sticking with baseball. And imagine if he's a starting pitcher or a middle reliever or something. Can you imagine a 7'4" guy on top of a mound throwing heat at you? I kind of wish he would have been a baseball pitcher in a way.
Would have been a sight to see. Yeah, there's no doubt. And on top of that, if you continue reading that piece, and it's a really nice piece on ESPN.com regarding him winning AP Player of the Year. If you are a big man, if I'm trying to put myself in those shoes that is also hesitant about basketball for most of your life, there are a few spots as well-versed in the country of being able to develop and fine-tune a big man than Matt Painter. He's shown that over, even if you just quantify it into the last 5 or 7 years of just a revolving door of frustrating, talented big man. And in terms of accolades, Zach Edey's top of the mountain.
Yeah, Brian, no, he is Jimmy Cook here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. All right, let's turn our attention to ball over here. NFL Draft, we're inching closer to it. We're almost in April, Jimmy, right? Like you think about opening day in baseball, we're inching towards spring. Well, when we get to April, inching toward the NFL Draft, we're inching towards summer. You know what I'm saying? I feel I'm not just spring mode. I'm thinking summer over here with the NFL Draft, but almost in April here. And I read something this morning here, Jimmy. So Matt Bowen, he writes for ESPN, does a great job, and he put together a piece, Top 2023 NFL Draft Quarterbacks. This is the title of it. Best traits, highlights, throws. Now, we're not going to break down highlights or throws on radio. So let's talk about traits. So this is what Matt Bowen listed for each of the top prospects, their best trait. Bryce Young, pocket poise. And I got the pocket poise over there. C.J. Stroud, third level accuracy and touch. He can throw it downfield accurately. Will Levis, all-around stud. No, I added that part. Throws with velocity. Throw some steam on the ball. And also Anthony Richardson, arm strength. He can sling it, though it's not always on target. Is what Matt Bowen wrote right there. Now, this is what really stands out to me, Jimmy. The comps. Love the quarterback comps over here. So the comp, according to Matt Bowen, for Bryce Young is Drew Brees. I know you've heard that quite a bit.
Yep.
I have too. C.J. Stroud, get a load of this comp. Matt Ryan. What's your first impression? Because I think a lot of people would go, ew, Matt Ryan. And it's a little bit like Edey in a way, right? It shouldn't just be the last impression with Matt Ryan's season last year with the Colts, which was a disaster. It's a former league MVP. This guy, Matt Ryan, put up numbers for a long time in Atlanta.
The dude could sling it. He was one of those quarterbacks in general, whether you were just a fan of the game or a fantasy football player or whatever, where you knew the type of season he was going to have over the course of his prime. I'm sure that's probably a little bit of an undertone shot towards the fact that Stroud really didn't show an aggressiveness or a commitment to run and be mobile and agile in college as some scouts would have liked him to shown. You look at Matt Ryan's career, primarily a pocket passer guy, right? Not a guy that's going to go win it with your legs. Maybe once in a blue moon during his early prime, but that's not a bad comp. You just got to flush it out of your mind, Colts fans. Flush the last season out of your mind.
Yeah, got to flush it. No doubt about that. Will Levis, his comp, according to Matt Bowen, Jay Cutler. Huh? What do you think about that?
I think he's going to steal a lot of money from the Colts then. That's dangerous. It's a dangerous game we're playing there.
And the comp for Anthony Richardson is Bills quarterback Josh Allen.
That's too, man, there's a lot in that comp that is clickbaity / easy, because that's what we've been referencing because it's the only real point we can make for why accuracy could be fixed, because Josh Allen is the unicorn example. Do I think that if the accuracy could be fixed at that level, that Anthony Richardson could be as good as Josh Allen? There's a conversation to be had there, but it's a massive if there's not a large body of work to prove it can be fixed.
Yeah, that's going to take a lot. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to take a lot for Anthony Richardson to rival Josh Allen. I know most of these comps are based on traits. I get that. Like, Josh Allen wasn't accurate in college. Look at him now.
Yeah.
So maybe something similar happens with Anthony Richardson, and certainly with the tools, Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson. I get that comp. And I think some of these comps, your first reaction is like, whoa, wait a minute. You're telling me Anthony Richardson's going to be the next Josh Allen? That's not necessarily what the comp is. It's more about traits instead of just like calling your shot of what the guy will be in the NFL. I find this interesting, though, Jimmy. I went back to the 2018 draft, and I'm like, let me find some comps heading into that draft. The comparisons, we all love that. And it didn't quite work out the way that some thought it would, okay? So there's some comps for Baker Mayfield. The comp was Russell Wilson in terms of improvisational traits. You know, you can improvise. Do you think Baker Mayfield's better on a Russell Wilson improvisational level or pretty much anything else level in the NFL?
I would say he's been better than last year's Russ, but that's not saying much. So outside of that, no.
I was wondering where you were going with that tone of voice. Like, sounds like pushback Jimmy over here.
No. I would not crown him in that regard, no.
Okay, the comp for Josh Rosen.
Oh, man.
Fizzled out right away. Eli Manning.
Brutal.
Said both are poised, accurate, and intelligent pocket passers. Didn't work out for Josh Rosen. Josh Allen. What was Bills quarterback Josh Allen's comparison when he was heading into the NFL? Carson Wentz. And the write-up I read said, Josh Allen, not quite as accurate as Ben Roethlisberger, isn't as mobile as Cam Newton. How did both of those things turn out?
So this is a really back-to-back tough stretch of comps there. Even if you want to flush the Russell Wilson one, it's brutal. Did not end very well for that. I don't know if this is Mel Kiper who it was that's doing this comp, but not great. Not great work there.
And the last one, this was a Bleacher Report column.
Okay.
And a lot of people go, oh, well, there you go. Trust me. Not only Bleacher Report with the comps that didn't turn out to be correct. The last one, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, his comp heading into the 2018 draft, Andrew Luck. It says accurate passers that can make every throw, both natural leaders.
I mean, he's got an early retirement likely lined up soon, so I mean, at least that comp will hit.
Oh, hey.
Low blow, Jimmy Cook. I kind of like it, though.
I figured you would.
Yeah. You know what these comps have in common, though?
They're all trash.
Yeah,
they're all trash, but also it shows you the tendency to be comfortable giving the nod to the big school guys and shunning the small school guys.
Sure.
I'm not telling you every big school quarterback doesn't pan out and every small school quarterback does. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you it's more comfortable to say glowing things about the big name school quarterbacks and like, oh, Josh Allen, I'm this jabroni over here. Like, it really is. It's just more comfortable, and it's something to keep in mind when you're looking at this current quarterback class, when you're thinking about Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, big name schools, Bama, Ohio State, and it's like little piddly Kentucky that recruited me and, you know, gave Eddie Garrison a call to see if he could line up in the slot this year. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just different.
And to be clear, I know you're advising and teaching the masses here. You're not teaching me, because I've told you my, whether you want to say disdain or my criticisms towards Will Levis are not, he played at Kentucky. Like, I totally agree with you. That's not a fair way to judge it. And it is easy. You put your feet back, a Kentucky quarterback. What's happening there? What's next? A Kentucky wide receiver? Look, I get it. I know it's very easy to do. That's not my hang up with him. But you're right. It is happening. And is it fully fair? No, it shouldn't be viewed that way. It should be viewed as what you've seen from just him on tape. Do you like what you see? Can you correct what you've seen? And also, if you want to go the supporting cast route, man, he didn't have a ton at Kentucky. Unfortunately for the Colts, I don't think that's necessarily a massive upgrade in terms of offensive weapons that you'd like to have. But hey, maybe he ends up at a spot where they have a number one wide receiver established and he shines. Who knows?
Yeah, it's possible. I do have a list that's even better, Jimmy.
For comps?
It's not comps, it's rankings for the 2018 draft. This is from The Ringer. I'll get into this with you coming up next. I couldn't make this up. I almost fell over today. I was eating breakfast. I literally almost fell over, like looking at these lists and how wrong it turned out to be. Let me just tell you this, sneak peek. Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, did not rank anywhere near where he should have heading into the draft compared to where he is right now.
What was for breakfast? That's the bigger question I have here.
You know what? I screwed up. My girl made me a sausage for breakfast, and I had some toast. And about on my third sausage patty, I had 4 of them. On my third one, she goes, oh, baby, it's Friday. And I'm like, no, I forgot. And then I had the 4th sausage patty.
There you go. There it is.
Like, I'll swap them out. No meat for the entire month of April. I screwed up. But
it's not April.
It's not. Well, it's not. But will.
He's planning.
Yeah, I'm planning.
I get it.
Yeah. Got to swap out a couple of weeks in April is what I'll do. All right, we get to the rankings right around the corner, and also I saw something about tanking / draft ping pong balls in the NBA. Just the odds, kind of interesting where the Pacers are and where they could go. We'll lay that out for you around the corner as well. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay, I'm ready.
105.5 The Fan.
I'm Brian, though. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. It's a slow build. Slow build with Iron Man over there. A little kick drum, you know. Let's just go with the kick drum for a good, 4 to 8 little thuds, and then we're not in a hurry over here. Black Sabbath, you know? We'll take our time.
It's a timeless intro, but I heard you start to laugh when you realized that Edey did start it from the beginning as it deserves, and you knew we were going to have about the 5, 6, 7 kick drums before we got to the payoff.
Yeah, that's okay. It was good.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good selection by Edey, but yeah, it's a slow burn right there, slow build. Okay, so let's start with hoops here, and we'll get back to the 2018 rankings list, which is just comedy and something to keep in mind when you're thinking about the quarterback list in 2023. But the Pacers, so they're in action tonight against Oklahoma City. And if you're of the betting kind, I'm noticing that last night, the Thunder, they started off as 3-point favorites down to 2-point favorites on the road over there. You indulging in this game here, Jimmy? You thinking? Maybe?
So shout out to my nephew Declan and my brother-in-law Kyle. I'm going to tonight's game, so I will be placing some type of wager just because when I'm at live events, I like to at least have something going on, particularly first basket bets. I love first basket bets because they reveal two things. They reveal the type of bettor you are, but they also reveal how many bettors are around you. Because if you go to an NBA game or even a college game when they allow it, if you look around the arena, you will see where the bettors are because they will all be oohing and eyeing who gets that first touch. Is it a post feed to Miles Turner? Is it a Buddy Hield 3? It is electric, and you know where those fans are if they have money on that particular bet.
Have you had success betting first basket props?
I have. It's not like a glowing resume track record, but I have hit a first basket prop or two before.
Man, it's just such a crapshoot to me.
We're putting like $2 to $5 on this. We're not like I'm not putting the 7 units on first basket. I'm not living that dangerously. You know what I mean?
By the way, in terms of the tank odds, we've been big on this train here, Jimmy. We are Team Ping, as we talked about earlier. Team Ping Pong balls. Want to see as many losses as possible. So where the Pacers are, they're 7th right now. What's really interesting to me is the spots 5, 6, and 7. So right now they're in the 7th spot. They have a 7.5% chance to get the first overall pick. It bumps up if you're number 6th in the pecking order, to 9.7%. Number 5 is 9.8%. So I know it's radio, and I know some of these numbers, it just sounds like, wow. But where the Pacers are, they're in this little pocket, if you will. Numbers 5 through 7, where they project to end up based on them resting players and other teams resting guys. They're probably in that 5 to 7 range in terms of where their record will slot them when the ping pong balls come around, right? So it's like number 5 and number 6 are almost identical. You get a 9.8 shot with number 5, 9.7 shot with number 6. It falls down, number 7, where the Pacers are right now, to 7.5. So you really want to get to at least that 6th spot if you can.
And you're not officially clear yet of the Wizards in terms of, to your point, being comfortable at 7. Like, I want the increase, but the absolute last thing I want is dropping a 1.5% to 6% at number 1 if they somehow wind up swapping with where Washington is in the pecking order. Again, if you're not a stats guy or the percentages bore you, let's just say if you knew you had an opportunity to win the lottery and you were going to get like 100 extra chances or like 100 extra tickets at it, you'd take that, you'd sign up for it. That's basically where we're at in terms of these percentages in layman's terms for what could happen if the Pacers end up losing out.
Yeah, they are, I don't know the best way to say it. So they are a half game behind in the lottery odds, right? It's like, I don't know the best way to say it because they're looking up at teams with worse records than them. They're a half game behind Orlando and the Blazers. They're a game and a half ahead of the Wizards in terms of the lottery standings, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the reverse order of what you would see in the standings.
Yeah, when you're looking at trying to actually make the playoffs, you want to know, okay, in this situation, how many games are left, and I've already lost one. They still have another game to play. There's only a handful of a chance that they're going to be able to make up that ground. I've already committed a loss. In this case, when you do the reverse, you look at the situation right now with the Portland Trailblazers and the Orlando Magic with that half-game lead. The Pacers have played one more game than those two teams, and they have won one more game than those two teams, meaning that it's already out of their hands right now. If they lose out and Portland or Orlando loses out, the Pacers are stuck at 7. They already have a game in hand the other way. It's all very confusing, but all you got to do is flip it and think the inverse of the standings.
What I find really interesting is when something significant happens and you don't know it.
Yes.
Meaning, what if it's a tiebreaker situation with, say, the Pacers and the Magic, and some random November game where it's like, oh, yeah, remember when the Pacers won by 9 on the road against the Magic? And you're like, no, certainly don't remember that. Well, yeah, that was one of the reasons why this team had more ping pong balls, and it led to them getting the number 1 overall pick in Wembanyama. You know what I mean? I just think it's really fascinating when something, it doesn't even seem significant at all at the time, and it could be down the road a matter of months later.
Doesn't matter if you're playing for draft picks as a fan. Doesn't matter if you're playing for postseason positioning. People want to say, it doesn't really matter until we get into March, into April. No, it matters the whole year, because if you trip up in November, regardless of which one you're rooting for, and in trip up in November, we're talking about a win here for Team Ping. But when that happens, it can be the difference between even a slight increase of your chances to get in that range for the top pick.
By the way, loaded show today. Tim Kurkjian from ESPN, talk some baseball with him at 1. Edey Gill talking Pacers at 1:30. And also Frank Martin, the scowl, right? Frank Martin used to be at Kansas State and South Carolina, went to the Final Four with South Carolina. He's currently at UMass as their head coach. But the scowl, he'll talk some college hoops with us at 2:30. Fun fact about Frank Martin, diehard Dolphins fan.
Really?
It's true, yes, diehard.
Have you chatted with him before? Or
I have
is that
not.
In your own
I have
research?
not. I'm looking forward to breaking down Tua. What does the Jalen Ramsey trade do for the Finns? And then we'll get to, hey, who do you like in the Final Four? All right, Coach, take care. We'll see you.
As long as you get your Dolphin fix, I'm happy.
Yeah. By the way, we were talking to Scott Agnes yesterday about the Pacers, and I love how he put it. It was very professional. I was talking to him about tanking, the Pacers tanking right here, and he said, I'd call it prioritizing development. And I love that. I think if we were to take just random terms and to put it in like a 2023, like really fancy, maybe PC way, what could we come up with here? What do you think, Jimmy? You want to throw out some terms and can have some inflated names? What do you think? I threw out stealing gas. What do you think? How do you think about this? Prioritizing economic overflow. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds way fancier, and it's almost like you're at a 5-star dinner and when you're talking about stealing gas. You know what I mean? So I like that. In terms of tanking, no, prioritizing development is what we're going with here.
If I am being lazy, no, I'm not being lazy. I'm advancing my mental capacities is what's happening there. Okay, that's
there you go.
Okay, come on.
Yeah, that works. Instead of yawning, I'm exercising my brain is what I'm doing.
Did I watch basketball? I know I was studying. It was very important. I was studying. That one's not as fancy, but it's as true as any of the other ones.
I was engaging in visual intake.
Yep.
How do you think of that?
I like that one. That's cleaner. That's it's nice. It's good stuff from you.
You know what? You might be able to watch a game or two with that instead of, hey, baby, I'm going to watch the game. And maybe, baby, I'm going to engage in some visual intake. Maybe she's like, what are you doing? And you're out of the room before she's figuring out you're just watching ball, All right, coming up next, got some hilarious sound for you. There's an NFL tight end that you're very fond of, Jimmy. We'll get you some hilarious audio of that guy. And I owe you this list. This is freaking comedy. The list of 2018 quarterback prospects. where people had them ranked before the draft and where they rank right now. It is food for freaking thought when we apply it to the 2023 draft. That's on the way. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Win Golden Gloves amateur boxing.
All right, Jimmy, Brian Noe and Jimmy Cook with you here on The Fan. So I ran across this list from The Ringer. These are the quarterback rankings for the 2018 NFL draft. Remember that draft? They had 5 first-round quarterbacks: Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and then Lamar Jackson. And so I just was digging this morning because I was curious. I went down this path, Jimmy, where I saw a column written about quarterback comps for the quarterbacks in this upcoming draft. And I started thinking, you know what? I wonder what the comps turned out to be in previous drafts. So I just looked at 2018. And then I revealed this, I saw this list of the way the quarterbacks were ranked, and oh my gosh. Okay, so some of these people for The Ringer, and they get a lot of stuff right over there, by the way, but Jack McCluskey, this was his ranking for the 2018 QBs. Baker number 1, Lamar 2, Darnold 3, Rosen 4, anyone else 5, not ranked Josh Allen. He had anyone else instead of Josh Allen. I like this one too. Ben Glicksman. Number 1, wait 2 years for Tua. 2 is Josh Rosen. 3 Baker. 4 Lamar. 5 Kenny Trill. Wow.
Oh, it's brutal. I mean,
really bad.
Yeah, look, I mean the rankings and the comps is a very dangerous game. If you are not like a top shelf, either mock draft or analyst, whatever the case may be, it can be very tempting to look at a player like, in your case this year, Will Levis, or like Josh Allen, and be like, hey, you know, there's a lot of stuff I don't like on film, and on top of that, I mean, look at where he's coming from, look at the pedigree. I will rather have anybody but this guy. And you can wind up with egg on your face when you go and review that 3, 4, 5 years later down the line.
Yeah, it's really interesting what the common belief was at the time and what turned out to be. Yeah. A lot of times it does not match up. There are a couple others. This 2018 draft, the rankings, according to The Ringer. Danny Heifetz? I apologize. I'm not trying to be cute, but these were his rankings. Rosen 1, Baker 2, Lamar 3rd, Darnold 4th, Kyle Lauletta 5th. And then things I do not believe: the Browns can teach Josh Allen how to competently play quarterback in the NFL. He had Lauletta ranked ahead of Josh Allen. Just think about that for a second. There's another one. Michael Bauman. Lamar 1st, Baker 2nd, Rosen 3rd, Mason Rudolph 4th, 5th, John McEntee? I don't even remember. It says the former UConn trick shot quarterback. He had that guy ranked ahead of Josh Allen.
But look, the glaring truth behind all these mocks that you're giving out is that the hate and the criticisms towards Josh Allen were extreme.
Yes. During
that draft class. The only one that I agree with, anything of the ones you've read off to this point, or at least in this segment, because I don't really believe in the Browns, I don't know that Josh Allen becomes the quarterback that he is today in Cleveland. And if that's what that line was that you read, then I agree with that part, but I don't agree with the massive gap that's there for him.
I think he would have panned out. I hear what you're saying, but I think he would have panned out even in Cleveland, because that's the thing is Baker Mayfield had real talent to work with. Real talent. It's not like it was a barren, destitute place. Like, he had the best 1-2 combo to work with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield. He's got, at one time, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry to throw to, David Njoku. He had dudes. Yep. He had one of the best offensive lines in front of him. And he still couldn't get it done. So if you give Josh Allen all of that, yes, he's absolutely panning out. And it's not like Buffalo was a factory over there before Josh Allen got there. They had some lean years before he got there.
I guess my larger point is that the tools around him, I guess what I'm kind of leaning with there, the comp is bad, it's all bad, is that I give a lot of credit to both Josh Allen and to Buffalo's staff for helping him develop as an accurate passer. I don't just solely put that on his work ethic. That had a lot to do with it, but I give credit to the Bills more so than I think I would have at the time, given a belief to the Browns that they would be able to improve his accuracy, regardless of him having more weapons than he did in Buffalo.
Man, and I give credit to the people who were not sheep at the time, You know, it's just so trendy, so fashionable to talk trash about Josh Allen and, oh, no, I don't believe in this guy. And a lot of people saying that just went along with the trend. Yeah. I mean, really, you weren't breaking down film. You weren't really watching the guy in college. You're just going along with what everybody else is saying. And I'm sensing the same thing with Will the Thrill Levis over here. It's fashionable. Whether he pans out or not, we'll see. But you can't argue. It is completely fashionable. It is in season. It is the hottest new dance move or fashion, like shirt to wear, whatever. Like, it is fashionable to talk trash about Will the Thrill Levis.
No, it definitely is, but it's also very easy to try to get into a hipster mentality and go away from the grain and be like, I see what everybody else isn't seeing, and then all of a sudden that guy's the one that looks like they have the mock that they did while they were half asleep.
Hey.
Or, fine-tuning their mental faculties. My apologies.
We shall see. We'll see how it turns out the next, 3 to 5 years with Will Levis. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, coming up next, we will pay off insane audio, just hilarious. We'll get to it in the next segment, an NFL tight end trying to identify coaches in the NFL. It's very, very funny, with local ties actually on that. But coming up, Tim Kurkjian from ESPN breaking down opening day in MLB. Very much looking forward to that. What did he think about the new rules? It's on the way. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, good morning.
5, The Fan.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. Want to welcome in Tim Kurkjian, ESPN MLB writer and analyst. Joins us here on the show. Tim, I'd imagine like you geek out on that music over there. Like, that's a wrong phrase. You get fired up for that. Like baseball season, it just sounds like baseball when you hear that, does it not?
Yes, it sounds like baseball, and yes, I'm easily geeked up about the game, especially after an opening day like yesterday, and with what we have to look forward to. I'm 66, and I still love this stuff. I can't help it.
No, that's awesome, man. What did you think? I mean, obviously, the first one is the new rules, quicker games, a lot more action. What did you think about not only the pitch clock, but overall the new rule changes?
Well, I did a lot of new rule changes in Florida and Arizona for spring training, and I was pleasantly surprised with how quickly the players made the adjustment to the pitch clock. Aaron Boone told me after a week of games, he said, we played a game in Orlando yesterday, he said, and they didn't even have a pitch clock because they didn't have the technology in the ballpark. And we still played in 2.5 hours because the players were already conditioned to let's get in the box and go, let's get on the mound and let's go. And that's a really good sign. So I didn't see anything terrible that happened yesterday. Something terrible is going to happen. Somebody's going to lose a game on a pitch violation. But I think we've gotten to the point where it looks like this has a chance to really work, and I sure hope so, because if you can shave not necessarily minutes off the game, but the dead time out of the game, and if we can get more action into the game, that's kind of what we're looking for here.
Tim, we had roughly a steal and a half per game of stolen base attempts yesterday. Teams went 21 for 23. I know that was anticipated that teams would try to pressure that aspect of the game because of the pitch clock and pitchers being so focused on getting the ball in play. How do pitchers adapt to that, or what will be the adaptation, if any, to try to contain those that want to try to steal bases?
Right, it's going to be a challenge. I don't anticipate stolen bases going way up this year. I talked to Max Scherzer, the mad scientist, and I mean that in the best possible way. And he told me the bigger bases and all that, he said, it just means I have to be, instead of 1.3 to the plate, I have to be 1.29 to the plate. That is a microscopic difference because he's already done the math on this. But I think it's great. I think it's great that players are actually thinking more often. Maybe we can steal a base here. With the throw-over rule and the disengagement rule, there's just a real chance now we'll get more action and more running and more athleticism into the game, which is what we were looking for all along. These guys are bigger, stronger, faster, and better than they've ever been. We need to see them do more things than just throw 100 miles an hour and hit a ball over a fence. We need to watch them run, and maybe this will be the case, but I repeat, I just don't think that we're going to see a ton more stolen bases, but a few more would be great.
Is there anything about the rule changes, Tim, that you don't love all the way? Meaning you're not out on the rule change entirely, but there's just one little portion of it that you're not quite on board with.
Well, it's the old rule, the runner on second base, the ghost runner in the 10th inning. I'm sorry. I will never be a fan of that rule. It just is completely foreign to what baseball has been played like for the first 140 years. It's unnecessary, but it looks like it's here to stay, and I'm learning to deal with it. But I like it. This really don't get bigger bases. I understand what they're trying to do here, but I don't think that is necessary, and I worry a little bit from all the players I talked to this spring that, a slightly bigger bag might affect somebody sliding into second, and now the bag is 4 inches wider, or a second baseman who's so used to going to the bag, knowing exactly where it is and what size it is, he might get a spike caught onto the bag because it's a bigger bag now. I just don't understand it. I'm not totally against it. I just think the other bases were just fine. And to me, there's a noticeable difference between the old base and the pizza box that's down on the bases now.
The Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian, nice enough to take some time with us, writer, analyst for ESPN, ESPN.com, covering the MLB. Tim, for you here in this state, it's kind of a melting pot of fandom. We have a number of different storied franchises all around us: Cubs, White Sox, Cardinals, Reds. When you look at the conglomerate of those four teams, where are your feelings of expectations for those four, and who do you think has the best chances for a long, healthy, successful season here in 2023?
Right. Well, the Cubs are much better than they were last year. That doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs, because I don't think they are. But I really liked and what I saw and what I heard from the Cubs this spring. But again, a lot is going to depend on Cody Bellinger finding his swing again, and it's been lost for a couple years now. And Eric Hosmer making a comeback too and being a productive hitter again. Those are pretty big ifs at this point. But still, I like where the Cubs are going. I like their offseason moves. Love Dansby Swanson at shortstop. They're heading in the right direction. The White Sox have to be better than they were last year. They can't be again. And I expect them to be, but maybe not significantly better. I still think the Guardians are the best team in that division. The Reds are going to struggle this year. That's obvious, but at least they're going to struggle with young players on the way up. They're going to give them hope from Hunter Green on down. Should be fun to watch. And the fourth team is the Cardinals. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, the Cardinals are very good. Even though they lost the game yesterday and gave up 10 runs and bullpen gave it up, and Miles Michaelis wasn't very good at the start, they're a very good team. And once they get completely healthy and get everyone going, I think they'll win that division. I think they're better than the Brewers. They're better than the Cubs. They're certainly better than the Reds and the Pirates. So I think there's a lot to like on the teams that you guys are following.
Reds pitcher Hunter Green hit 105.2 miles per hour on a pitch yesterday. 105.2, that's insane. That blew my mind. Either that or anything else with opening day. What player blew your mind, Tim Kurkjian?
Well, first off, with Hunter Green, anyone who throws over 100 miles an hour and is that big and that young and that athletic, you have to be really, really excited about him. And yet, people put that 100 miles an hour in play. He's going to need a little bit more movement with that 100-mile-an-hour fastball, because the old cliche is today's hitters can really time a bullet. They can time an airplane. Once they figure out, hey, it's straight, we can figure out the velocity. So that's one guy. And the other guy was Dylan Cease last night. Anyone who didn't see Dylan Cease last night, that was ridiculous how good his stuff is. And Roger Clemens in the booth is going, whoa, things like that. That just shows you how impressive Dylan Cease's stuff was last night. Of course, we saw it all last year when he, was in the Cy Young running. But when you throw that hard with that kind of movement, there's an awful lot to like there.
Tim Kurkjian taking some time with us. Tim, one of my relatives has never been a big baseball fan, but points to the length of games decreasing around 2 hours, 45 minutes, I think was 15 or so games yesterday. I know that's the intent of Major League Baseball, but as you look at these rule changes for you, somebody that is as diehard as they come, as truly loves the game in its purest form, what is your selling point to fans that were maybe on the fence, but there's not a ton going on during the summer months, and baseball is as good as any to hitch your wagon to? How do you sell that to them?
Well, you sell it to them by saying these rule changes are designed in part to bring back the value of the hit. I think we've lost the value of the hit. We don't really care who the batting champion is these days. And when I was growing up, and Rod Carew, and then later, of course, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs would win batting titles, Ichiro, that was a big deal. Well, it's not a big deal anymore, and it should be, because the hit, once we return that value of the hit, and this is what the change in the shift rule is hopefully going to do. A hard ground ball up the middle might be a hit now. A hard ground ball to the right of the first baseman might be a hit. When a ball's put in play like that, that's really good. And that's what we're trying to get here, fellas. We're trying to get more balls in play. We're trying to watch guys run first to third or score from second on a single. That's what people like. That's how I would sell it to people. You don't need necessarily a faster game. You need a better game, a game with more action and less dead time, and that's the hope here.
You know, Tim, I haven't heard a whole lot of criticism about the new rules from the people who have covered the game for a long, long time. And I know not everybody, it's not universal that everybody loves the rules all across the board, but is there a sense that you get where, hey, let's highlight the good. Let's highlight what we do like instead of just belly aching and complaining and making it like, this isn't the place we want to be. More so like highlight the good of the game instead of just belly aching about the stuff you don't like.
Yeah, I think we're seeing quite a bit of that because, again, I think the game needed some help. And this is the first time I've said that in a long time. And when people are reaching out to say, all right, we can make it better, I think we should. Now, again, fellas, this could all blow up here. If we have a pitch violation that ends a game and people are going crazy like they did, the second day of spring training this year, that could change the narrative tremendously. If we find that the shift rule isn't working and teams are working around it, that we're going to hear the negative once we see a bunch more games. But I talked to so many people this spring who told me, to some effect, after a month, no one's even going to be talking about the rule changes. That's how easy these guys are going to be able to adjust to them. And again, I'll believe that when I see it, but I really like what I saw in spring training and what we saw yesterday.
Tim, we were talking about snacks and other fun things yesterday. With it being opening day, are you just a classic hot dog and Cracker Jack guy, or is there a particular spot in the MLB and all its beautiful parks that has the best chow that you can find?
Well, I get asked this once in a while, and I have to avoid the question because I don't eat in the ballpark. I eat in the press box.
Fair.
Because that's where the food is. So I don't take my time to go stand in the line for 15 minutes and miss, an inning and a half when I could just go get a meal in the press box. Having said that, the bratwurst at Miller Park, and especially at the old County Stadium in Milwaukee, with the secret sauce is just to die for. So I had many of those over the years. And the great part when I used to cover a team every day and we'd go to County Stadium in Milwaukee, those brats with the secret sauce were in the press box during the game. So that's my favorite ballpark food right there.
Does it bother you, Tim, when you're singing "Take Me Out to the Ballpark" when someone says "Cracker Jacks"?
Yeah, it's a singular. It's Cracker Jack. And it's like RBIs. Sorry, there's still an S on the end of that for me.
There you go. Yeah.
It's like POWs. No one ever said that 100 POW came home from World War II. Okay?
That's right. Yes.
POWs. So that's my. So, and again, RBIs, all that, I'm fine. And Cracker Jacks, look, you can call it whatever you want as long as you're singing it in the bottom of the seventh.
There you go. Absolutely. Well, hey, Tim, appreciate the time, man. Always good to catch up with you. And enjoy the season, man. Hope to catch you again sometime soon here.
Okay, fellas. See you.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, there he is. Tim Kurkjian, ESPN MLB writer and analyst, Baseball Hall of Famer. That was fun. That was a great walk-off right there. He's right. I'm RBI's guy. You, Jimmy? You don't go RBI, do you?
No,
you do. I sense
we'd
it.
have to play back the tape because I don't want to fake it. However, I said it to Tim. I said Cracker Jack, but I think I said Cracker
No, you said
Jacks.
it right.
That's I said Jacks. I added the S.
No, you didn't. You said it singular.
I did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's how
absolutely
I guess I am.
did.
I guess. I don't know.
But do you go RBIs?
No, I think I go RBIs.
Okay, good.
I'm
So
pretty
you have the
certain
S.
You put the S there.
I know I did. No, I don't think I go RBI. I think I go RBIs.
That's what I asked you.
He's leading the league. Well, I know, but Edey's questioning what I'm saying. Now I'm having two people questioning what I'm RBIs is what I believe I said.
Yes. You put
I think
the
it's
S.
an RBI if it's singular for
Right.
one run batted in, but when you're saying like he's got 42 RBIs.
Right.
If I said he's leading the league, I would not say me personally. He's leading the league in RBI. I would say he's leading the league in RBIs.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay.
Absolutely
All right
right.
then.
Because that's the thing. You're just making the initials plural. That's it.
Right.
You're not saying runs batted ins. You're saying there are multiple
Correct.
runs batted in.
Correct.
I don't know why people get tripped up on that. I don't get it.
I don't know either, but I feel like it's one of those that drives people mad, obviously, from your standpoint. But I'm also, there's people in that camp, nobody in this room, that are like, no, it's RBI. You're wrong.
The one thing that drives me bonkers when people talk about baseball, it's like, oh, yeah, they got a point.
Oh, no, you can't do that. That's not a point. Not a point. No,
that has sports ball territory written all over it. No, can't do that.
No. I like Tim's argument, though. POWs. That's right. No one says 42 POW came back. Like, no. Brilliant man, that Tim Kurkjian right there.
Hall of Famer. Like brilliant.
Hall of Famer, yes. He mentioned a couple of things here. The ghost runner on second base. I was thinking about that. What would be the equivalent in football? If we got to overtime in football, what would be the equivalent to a ghost runner on second base? Where he's really right about that. We haven't had that for a long time. It is so radically different than the way baseball has been played for so long. I'll be honest with you, I don't completely hate it just because we move things along in the regular season. It is entertaining. I get why purists would hate that rule. I totally understand that, and that's fine. But I'm just trying to think of what would be the equivalent in football that would come close to a ghost runner in baseball.
Kicking extra points or field goals without a defense out there.
I don't know that you can come up with something. That's the thing. I don't want to say...
Because you could say you put the ball at like the 20 or 25, but they do that in college, so it's not like a totally foreign idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is like college overtime in a way. The ghost runner on second base. Something else that we talked about, Hunter Green, the Reds pitcher. So get this. So he threw a pitch 105.2 miles per hour. 105 is what he threw. But I looked at his stat line. 3.5 innings pitched. Or three and a third, I should say. 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 1 home run against the Pirates. And I just started thinking, I think Anthony Richardson is going to be the Hunter Green of NFL quarterbacks.
Chill.
No, that's what I think.
Chill.
That's what I think. I think you're going to have a specimen that does some things like he just threw the ball 74 yards. Are you serious? Yeah, he's going to do some special things, but at the end of the day, you're going to look at his stat line, and he's going to be 13 for 31, 168 yards, 2 interceptions. He had 1 rushing touchdown, and a fumble. I think he's going to be like Hunter Green in the NFL. I do.
I strongly disagree.
I also feel like that you're in dangerous territory if you're making this whole layout case for why Will Levis is kind of beaten down and why he is the easy thing to hate on. But then you sprinkle in similar things to what people are doing to Levis, to Richardson from your point of view, and then we go back 5 years from now, and if Richardson's Josh Allen, you're all of a sudden Matt, whatever his name was from The Ringer or wherever we got that last mock that had Will Levis and Hendon Hooker above Anthony Richardson in his mock.
Now here's the benefit of audio. This medium, unless someone's rolling right now.
Oh, he is.
It's over and done with.
He is. Believe me, he is.
How much tape have you stockpiled over there, Eddie?
I can't reveal that.
Is that why he was busy earlier today?
Who is to say?
He's cutting up audio of me evaluating 2023 quarterbacks here. No, I do. Look, man, time will tell. But I think the boom-bust factor, no one can argue this. That's certainly the case with Anthony Richardson. It is boom or bust.
Yes.
And I see tremendous tools, there's no doubt. I see some tremendous playmaking ability at the NFL level with what he has. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's got great athleticism. I think he's going to deliver some jaw-dropping plays at times. But the consistency, I just don't think it's going to be there. I do. Some people are just like, oh, now slow it down here. No. What is wrong with that? If you look at Hunter Green, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Jaw-dropping ability, the tools, 105.2 miles per hour. That's insane. And he didn't do anything collectively against the Pirates yesterday.
I mean, you could throw a similar criticism if you want to use that same analogy for Will Levis. He has a cannon for an arm, is what people say on the scouting report. Maybe he has some epic deep bombs to let's put him here in Indianapolis. Yeah. Maybe he sent Alec Pierce down the sideline. But if he's getting... And you'd have to judge it based on the tape. How much was the offensive line's fault? How much was his fault? If he's holding on to the ball too long and he's taking an insane amount of sacks, the same could be used against Levis. And both, by the way, are probably unfair. There are unfair criticisms that you can camp for both Levis and Richardson, but you're arguing, and it's factual because you see it every day on television. A lot of the mainstream content is anti-Levis, anti-Levis, anti-Levis. It's all around.
Well, it is. And look, to be fair, Will Levis or Anthony Richardson could turn out to be the Hunter Green version of NFL quarterbacks. Great ability, some jaw-dropping plays, but just not the consistency that you're looking for. Yeah, they're both capable of doing that. I just think with Levis in particular, you surround him with better talent than he had surrounding him at Kentucky. I think with what he brings to the table, throwing off platform, buying some time, those sandlot plays, if you will. And a lot of this, like diagnosing defenses, reading coverage, feeling the blitz, a lot of that is tied to the talent or lack thereof around you. So I am just of the belief you surround him with better talent, you're going to get better results. But time will tell if that's right or not. That's just an opinion. It's not a fact.
I have the solution, by the way, at least my new idea of what would be as ridiculous as the ghost runner on second.
Okay.
10 apple before you can rush, or 5 apple before you can rush. We're taking it back to the schoolyard. That's the most ridiculous one I could think of, because you can't say, oh, let's put a wide receiver off sides, or he'd basically be off sides, but false start, whatever you want to penalize him as, at the 30, and you have the ball at the 50, right? Like you couldn't really do that. That'd be too insane. So let's say, 7 apple before you can rush. There you go.
Now, what did you do rushing the quarterback? I think we went 5 Mississippi. Were you Apple? Were you went to school?
Interchangeable, but Apple or Mississippi, 5
Apple
Mississippi or 5 Apple. 1 Apple, 2 Apple, 3 Apple, 4 Apple, 5 Apple, you're going.
5 Apple is a lot different than 5 Mississippi, I feel like.
It is. Depends. Faster game. Different generation, faster game.
And everybody rushing was always like 5 Mississippi. It wasn't even Mississippi. It was 5 Mississippi.
No,
3
you're taking off by the time you get the 5 out of your mouth.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Crazy, those pass rusher cheaters over there. So your guy, Travis Kelce, Chiefs tight end.
Yes.
He was doing his podcast with his brother, Jason Kelce. So this is the New Heights podcast. And it was hilarious, man. It is. It's a lot of fun. They were looking at a team picture. Well, not a team picture.
Coach's picture.
Coach's picture. As if it's a team picture, but it's just NFL coaches, right? And so Travis Kelce is just trying to identify who these guys are. And the Chiefs tight end, not the greatest. He's like, I'm horrible with names. I'm the worst. I can name teams.
Yep.
And so he just be like, Packers, Bills. Who is that? Right? Like, and some of the who is that was hilarious. Here's one of his reactions.
Who the is that guy?
That's Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels, who we did not recognize at all. Here's another one.
Again, never seen this guy in my life.
That's my defensive coordinator.
So that was former Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. He's now the Arizona Cardinals head coach. And Travis Kelce had no idea who that guy was. This is funny, too.
Nothing. I've never seen that man in my life.
Oh, this is so good.
The funny thing, I don't know who it is. Like, I'm pretty good. Like, these coaches are pretty distinct for the most part. I'll have to send you guys this picture or put it on Twitter or whatever, but I really don't know who it is. I looked through all the coaches. I'm like, I still don't know who that guy is. But here's another one that's kind of funny.
Damn it. There's no way that guy coaches in the NFL, man.
That's Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. Travis Kelce could not identify that guy. And now local ties. Here's one
I was
shout
going to
out.
bring it up. Yep.
Yeah, here you go.
I mean, 3 in a row. I have no idea who those dudes are.
That was our offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen for the Colts. Come on, Travis.
Yeah, didn't know Shane Steichen there. But
the coordinator ones are tough, right? Because it's one thing when it's Josh McDaniels, who at least was on the sidelines as the head coach for the Raiders last year, and you would have played him twice. But
how many times did you see him with the Patriots too on the sideline? Yeah,
right. But when you look at like an OC that you're probably not interacting with, particularly if they're upstairs in the booth. I'll give Travis a pass on that. But also going through there, I had the same issue. There were a couple, particularly the ones he didn't know, where I was like, the one you're talking about, I know exactly which one you're talking about. I could picture it in my head.
Yeah.
I had no clue who it was. Zero idea.
I don't know. It was bugging me too. I'm looking. Let me get the picture here. I know this is radio, but I'll describe it for you.
A lot of sunburns in that photo, by the way. That was the other thing that was talked about. A lot of bald coaches out in Arizona that were very red on the dome.
This mystery head coach, it looks kind of like blondish hair, younger guy. And I'm like, who is this? I don't know who it is. It's bugging me.
Yeah, I don't have it either. He also missed, and I'm forgetting his name now too, so I'm going to pull the Travis route, and it's just blanking on me. Bengals head coach.
Oh, Zach Taylor.
He missed Zach Taylor too.
Yeah, he did. He missed Zach Taylor, but yeah, he got a hint. Jason Kelsey was like, "This is a big rival, arguably your biggest rival." He's, oh yeah, that's Bengals. He's a dog. He knew him off of the hint.
Yep.
All right, funny stuff coming up next. Edey Gill, former Pacer, current radio analyst. Is he team ping? Like Jimmy and I, team ping pong balls? We'll talk some Pacers with Edey right around the corner. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Fan.
I'm Brian, though. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. Edey Gill joining us now, former Pacer, current radio analyst for the Pacers Radio Network, also TV analyst on Bally Sports Indiana. Edey, thanks for being on the show today. I need some dirt on Edey Garrison, okay? You work with Edey on the radio broadcast. I need something I can use against him.
Oh man! For number one, thank you guys for having me. Number two, I need to do some digging here. He's real low key on the radio broadcast. I'm gonna have to put some stalkers out on him or something.
You know, he gave you props. He was like, Edey Gill, really cool dude, man, really cool guy. I'm not even making that up. He was like, he speaks fondly of you.
No, I appreciate that. He's rock solid himself, so I can't give you some dirt, but no, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get some dirt. I need to know you better. Then you can give me the dirt. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's trust issues. We got trust issues.
Yeah, no doubt. You got to know it's okay here. You can trust me. What are you hoping to see from the Pacers from here on out to close the season, Edey?
Yeah, I think overall the on the court goals haven't really changed in terms of development of young players. You obviously want to go out there and compete. And not necessarily play, the record, but you want to go out there and play the games as if it's 0-0, if that makes any sense to you. Because oftentimes you start getting to the finish line, especially in these scenarios. There can be a human nature component in which you're just like, hey, I'm just going to go through the motions and just try to get to the finish line. I just want to see guys go out there and continue to compete hard. Seems like obviously the coaching staff continue to coach them up hard and continue to make progress, because there's great experiences here available to you if you take advantage of it. Otherwise, you could burn this opportunity to gain some real valuable experience.
Edey, over these last couple of games, the Pacers' points scored and points allowed have been astronomical, through the roof on both sides. Enter tonight Oklahoma City, another very young, very fast-paced team. How high of a scoring shootout are you expecting tonight when these two teams take the floor?
Man, just when I think that these numbers can't get any more ridiculous, they do. But, and if that trend continues, it could be another, game, 120-plus type of game on both sides, because I think both teams, have that type of firepower and ability to do that. And that's always something that I find interesting and in some degree humorous when certain players are out. People are like, well, where are you going to find scoring? And I'm like, well, there's other pros on the bench waiting to play. and those guys are plenty capable. Now, granted, I definitely understand there's levels to it. Some players are better than others and that type of thing. But I can assure you, when you go to any practice or anything like that, the first unit, they got their hands full with the second unit in terms of trying to stop that team from scoring. So you could definitely see that type of night again here tonight.
Edey, it's kind of like the ugly conversation in the room where it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on when the Pacers are resting some of their best players. They're looking for more ping pong balls while developing some of the younger guys. If you're one of those younger guys, are you just excited about getting more minutes and getting an opportunity, and that's as far as you think it through?
Yeah, I mean, and for me, definitely. I can't be concerned with who's sitting and who's not. I'm looking for each and every opportunity that's available to it, and regardless of the circumstance. Want to go out there and be able to prove your worth and prove your value, to catapult yourself into greater opportunity, whether it's the summer, if you're a free agent, or if it's coming into the upcoming season. You want to be able to show what you can do, and have some film and the experience to really lean on. To whether it's your current team, they say, hey, we can trust this guy next season. He could be a critical piece to what we do moving forward, and or lobbying and really showcasing your talent for other teams.
Edey Gill, the Pacers Radio Network in Bally Sports Indiana, nice enough to take a few minutes with us here on The Fan. Edey, over the course of your 12-year career, it was a grind. You put in the work that was necessary to be able to establish yourself in the league. For younger players, I know we're not at the offseason yet, but a lot of promise, a lot of praise at time has been given to this young core the Pacers have established through last year's draft. How do you keep that mentality and that focus as a young player in this league when the offseason arrives, knowing that it's not really a break for you, particularly if you are a young player in this league?
Yeah, I think you got to go into it with a consistent mindset of, hey, I'm going to continue to make some progress within my game as a person, as an individual, and showing that you're a high character individual that's going to go out there and work hard and play to the fullest of your capabilities, and then also take some steps within your game. You can't come back doing the same thing. You got to try to introduce new things or really improve upon your weaknesses, whatever those may be, whether it's offensive, defensive, handling the basketball, shooting the basketball, playmaking, whatever those things may be. You want to continue to make progress and don't be content with the moment, right? You know, with this, especially the Pacers, they've got some young guys who've had some real success in this season early on in their careers as rookies and second-year players and so on. You want to be able to continue to make that improvement because there's a million guys that want their jobs, and some of them will come behind them, and whether it's in the draft or free agency. You look thinking about summer league opportunities, so there will be guys coming up behind them, really putting some pressure and some heat on them, trying to take their job.
Indiana guard Jalen Hood-Schifino announced that he's going to enter the NBA. He announced that today. And for a guy that made that jump to the NBA like you did, Edey, we know it's a significant jump, but for someone who's been there on the court and faced that competition, how do you put it into words what it's like to go from college to the NBA initially?
Yeah, it's a significant jump. It's a tremendous jump in terms of the speed of the game, the size of the players in which they're able to move, the mobility that they have. But a lot of times there's some certain teams in college, they had big guys still playing some traditional, quote-unquote, big guy basketball, whereas in the NBA, you have guys 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", and they're handling the basketball as if they're 5'11". You know, and the speed of the game is so different. There's a lot more space on the floor. You can't just pack the zone and try to keep people out of there, although the NBA, they've gone to their own version of a zone, but you still can't stand in the lane. That's a violation, you know, for the whole entire defensive possession. You only got 3 seconds to get in and out of there. So there's a lot more space to operate in terms of offensively, which makes it even more difficult to defend as a defensive player. I think those are the main keys. And in that league, you know, there's no nights off, right? So you could be the best player on your team. And I think Jalen is he was a tremendous point guard for IU and did a great job there. And I think he'll be a good pro. But for any guys coming from that level to the NBA level, there's significant jumps in terms of what you have to deal with on both ends of the floor.
Edey, I want to zoom out from the Pacers for just a second. We talked about players in the NBA, young players right now trying to improve their game, but there's also a lot of today's youth that have dreams of playing in high school, playing in college, playing in the NBA. And I know that you and your organization, All Out Training, have a summer camp going on up at Zionsville Middle, if I'm not mistaken, in June. I wonder if you could expand on that a little bit for those that are looking for a spot to have their kids grow and learn the game more.
Yeah, we do. I appreciate you mentioning it. I do a Nike basketball camp every summer, and actually have some after-school programs during the school year where I've hired coaches and been able to have some after-school programs in the Zionsville community as of right now. But this Nike basketball camp that you referenced is June 26th through June 30th. It's actually on the verge of selling out. We've done it for several years now, and now it's gotten to a place where it's got a really nice following. There's been a ton of positive feedback, and it's something basically coming in, working on the fundamentals of the game, and it's a wide variety of participants. You know, some kids hadn't played a lot of basketball. Some kids are playing high-level AAU basketball. We always make sure the kids are in their particular group in which their playing experience is similar, regardless of age. Now, having said that, the age groups are 8 to 16. And, again, it's fundamental basketball. And I always, whenever I have these opportunities, I look at it as a parent. I want to make sure that my kid has a ample amount of reps. He's not standing in line for X amount of time and that kind of thing. And then beyond that, we always talk about life lessons using the game of basketball as a vehicle, because the reality is not everybody's going to play professional basketball or even college basketball in that regard. But there's a lot of lessons you can extract from the game and incorporate them into your day-to-day life. So I'm always talking about that throughout the week.
Hey, Edey, good stuff, man. Thanks for popping on today. We'll catch you tonight with the game against OKC.
Fantastic. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, thank you. There he is, Edey Gill, former Pacer, current radio analyst for the Pacers Radio Network, TV analyst on Bally Sports Indiana. Looks good on TV, too, So we'll catch him tonight here, Jimmy.
Yeah, he does. He's aware of many hats over there within the Pacers organization. Does a great job both on radio and TV. And yeah, I just Love to give the shout out there. Love to highlight those former players or anybody really that's trying to expand this game. It's obviously being heralded as a global game as it continues to expand. Basketball Without Borders has been a big cause as well throughout the NBA's campaign, but it's nice in local communities to continue to try to grow and develop, and also gives you something fun to do during the summer if you're a, like he said, an 8 to 16-year-old looking to have a good time throughout the summer off season.
And if you're just curious, OKC is back up to a 3.5-point favorite on the road now. So the line is fluctuating. One of the highest totals in the NBA tonight, 239.5. You mentioned the maybe 120 plus on both sides. Both you and Edey talking about that. So it's been a score fest lately for the Pacers, no doubt. I think that too, Jimmy, is we're talking about Jalen Hood-Schifino, the Indiana guard, declaring today he's going to be in the NBA draft. And making that jump from college to the NBA, I don't think it's as much the highlight reel plays that you might be a victim of. You know, like someone breaks your ankles and you fall down and you get clowned, or someone dunks on you. I think it's the ordinary plays of coming to the realization maybe early in your career of, I cannot guard this guy. No matter what I do, I cannot guard him. And what Edey's talking about with the spacing being different and the ball handling being different, I think that has got to be one of the most lonely feelings when you're making that jump from college to the NBA initially.
And the thing that makes or breaks, like obviously you were right, we weren't in the league, but you talk to former players that have either fizzled out or that haven't had the type of career they wanted to. A lot of it is being in the right headspace, the right mentality of when those missteps happen, because they will. You're going to get in isolation at some point in time with Steph Curry, and he's probably going to cook you. Maybe not every time, but stuff like that is going to happen. It's how you respond to that. It's not getting too low within yourself. And you're right. Sometimes you hit a ceiling as any athlete. Maybe you hit a ceiling and there's no more growth for you, but until you reach that point, you have to stay level-headed.
Yeah, I think it's going to be frustrating. Well, I know it is in the NBA, where you just want to make it difficult on the defensive end. You know, you want to make them work for it. You want to, hand in the face. Well, he hit that shot in my eye. There's nothing I can do about that, But it's those plays where you're like, I didn't even make him work. Even a little bit. That was the easiest bucket he could have possibly gotten. That's the type of stuff you can't have.
And the other angle, too, Brian, you mentioned the NFL route of you don't control what team you end up on. Sometimes you end up on a bad team, a team that does not have good talent around you. Maybe they've had missteps in drafts in the past. You need to not get frustrated, even if you're having, look at me, I'm having like a 20 and 10 type of season here as a rookie. That's great, but you can't get yourself caught up in just overall frustration and spite if you don't have those role players right away at your new destination.
Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. We'll get back to Jalen Hood-Schifino at the top of the hour, declaring for the NBA draft. Also, Zach Edey, nearly unanimous. AP, Men's College Basketball Player of the Year. Coming up next, man, there is an NFL prediction that is incredibly far-fetched. At least I think so. We'll see what Jimmy thinks around the corner. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Everyone knows that soaking in Epsom salts can make you feel better. Now imagine soaking in Epsom salts in a Royal Spa hot tub.
The Fan.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. So this is a far-fetched NFL prediction. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, he was on the Pat McAfee show, and he said he thinks it's inevitable that we'll see NFL games every night in the not-too-distant future. He says, I think sooner than later we're going to have Tuesday night football. We're going to have Wednesday night football. It's going to be, hopefully, in my lifetime, a 7-day-a-week primetime event. There's too much money to be made. Jimmy, this is never going to happen, man. He did talk about expansion. He said, I think they're going to start moving that number from 32 to, in time, 34, 36, 38, eventually 40. He's talking about quarterbacks are the key. Are there enough good quarterbacks for 40 NFL teams? There are enough good quarterbacks for 32 teams right now, but he's saying it would require expansion, maybe as many as 40 teams to have games every day of the week. How old do you think Mike Florio is going to live to? I guess that would be my follow-up question. Is he going to live to be like 237 years old or something like that?
I don't suppose you came to this segment with his age already in hand, did
No,
you?
I don't.
Okay,
I just thought of that. He's 57. Okay, we need him to live a minimum of 200 more years.
For which one? For the 40 teams or for the football every day?
For 40 teams in football every night. I think minimum 257 years old for Mike Florio.
Look, I don't think the Players Association would allow it, but I don't think it's far-fetched that that's been floated around owners before, the idea of how much extra money could be made of having nearly every day of the week have football. Truthfully.
What untapped markets could they look at for a team, for a franchise?
Well, the rumors are always that they're going to go overseas. Will that actually happen? I don't know. Logistically, it's a nightmare to plan it out, but that's always the underbelly, is maybe they go overseas, or maybe they expand just within North America. Maybe there's a team in Mexico City. Maybe there's a team in Toronto. I mean, that's the path of the rumor mill of expansion coming in some capacity.
Well, let's play it out. Let's get to 40 here. We're at 32. So that gives us about 35. Let's say there's a team in Mexico. There's a team in Toronto. Let's put a team in London. You're not going to have like 4 teams abroad. There might be 1, maybe 2. So if we're at 35, what other U.S. cities, what 5 other cities would we have a team in?
I mean, you could, like, if you want me to just list them without looking it up, you could put one in Louisville. You could put one in Oklahoma City. You could put one in SEC country somewhere, or that's in Alabama, or like somewhere within.
Let's go Birmingham. Didn't they have like the XFL or something?
They did. Yes, they did.
All their games were in Birmingham.
Again, I don't like. This is me. I'll be honest with our audience. This is sports talk host guy. I've not studied the demographics and the data that would show. This is just cities I could see it happening in.
You give Jimmy a little grace over there.
Please. There's rumors in, or not rumors, excuse me, in Madden. That's where we're going now for these teams. There's always, you could add a second team in Chicago. It would never happen. But you look at states that have multiple teams, I guarantee you that there would be like another big push to put another team in New York, or put a team that's truly in New Jersey. Yeah. If we're looking at expansion matters.
I hear you, but
Virginia,
you know what?
Sure,
or
anywhere on the East Coast around there. Delaware, maybe not.
We need another
Virginia.
Green Bay. That's what we need, because we're thinking big cities here. We need Augusta, Maine.
Omaha, come on.
We need Concord over here. We need Montpelier.
Maine. We need to get something in Maine. That's what
I'm saying. Yep. Augusta, Maine. Yep. You know? Yeah.
Middle America. Omaha, I don't know what you're going to...
Topeka, Kansas.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, let's get over there.
Yep.
What do you think?
I like it.
It's not going to happen.
I don't think you'll get to 40, but I think expansion is far more likely than a game every day.
Absolutely. A game every day is insane. That's not going to happen. Do you remember the COVID year where it was that weird Ravens-Steelers game? And I forget, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. And it was a huge deal at the time, like gigantic deal at the time.
Yes, I remember.
There is no way. Players are freaking out about maybe playing on Thursday night twice a season. Like there's no way it's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. That's college football's day. Like, no, that's insane.
There would be enough pushback from the Players Association for it never to get to every day. But honestly, if at the next NFL owners meeting you heard Wednesday night football, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they added another day. Maybe not every day, but if they added one more, I would not be shocked by that type of money grab.
Fair, but still. Like adding one day is different than adding four.
I agree. And Mike Florio, with all of the different takes and information pieces that he has for Pro Football Talk, every now and again there's going to be the outlandish 40 teams expansion plus 7 days a week football and a new 8th day that we've added in conjunction with the UN. I don't know. I have no idea how they'd make that happen.
No doubt. All right, we'll get to Jalen Hood-Schifino, Zach Edey. Also, I used to have respect for this NFL guru. That's on the way. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It has no beginning. The Fan.
Brian Noe and Jimmy Cook with you here on The Fan. I was just thinking about with Jalen Hood-Schifino, Indiana point guard, he declared for the NBA draft today. So he's going pro. And I was just thinking, if you could be a pro for a day, or just pro for an afternoon, and just feel what it's like to go up against some of the competition. You know what I mean? Like, hey, try to defend this NBA point guard, for just 5 possessions or something, and just to feel how helpless you would be in a situation like that, or hit this major league fastball. We were just talking about Hunter Green of the Reds throwing a pitch that was 105.2 miles per hour. Like literally just to stand in the batter's box and feel what that's like. I would love to do that. I would love to experience that just for, like 3 at-bats or 3 possessions trying to guard an elite point guard. But that really is, like, I have nothing on Jalen Hood-Schifino. I'm just saying making that jump from even college to the pros like Jalen Hood-Schifino, who's going to be a first-round draft pick and much more capable than I am. I mean, that's not the comparison. It's just to put in perspective how big of a jump that is, even for a guy that played major college basketball.
So, in your stance there, I apologize because I want to make sure that I'm
not listening. Okay.
No, I am listening, but
right.
You say it's not a shot at Jalen Hood-Schifino. I didn't think it was until you threw in it's not a shot at Jalen Hood-Schifino. At first, I thought we were going down what would be the coolest thing to experience that type of raw power and energy, to which I was going to say, I mean, you mentioned the NBA, you mentioned being in the batter's box. For me, I'm not built for it, but they never get any love. The trench warfare has to be unlike anything in any other sport trying to be in the offensive or defensive line.
Well, that's just, I kind of put physicality to the side.
Okay.
Just because that's an even bigger mismatch.
Sure.
Where, like, what am I, 5'11", maybe $160-ish right now? I have nothing for Nick Bosa. You know what I mean? Like, hey, guard Nick. Just see what you can do over there. Like, no chance. Or to go up against an elite offensive lineman, zero chance. Try to speed rush Trent Williams over there. No,
you don't have a good swim move. You can't. Yeah. You don't have one in your arsenal.
I got a great Reggie White club move. Let me try it on Trent Williams real fast. But anything to do with physicality, where it's boxing, get in there with Canelo Alvarez, see how you fare.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? MMA, an elite fighter. Like, there's just nothing you got. Depending on your build, and especially if you're not even close to being a professional in that sport, you got nothing when it comes to physicality. But just in terms of, hey, you've played basketball before. Maybe you can shoot. Try to make a shot against this NBA player. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to feel that.
Yeah, I guess the football equivalent to take out physicality would be trying to be a corner on an island and trying to handle in some capacity the speed of a Tyreek Hill or a Jalen Waddle or a Stephon Diggs on a go route. Like, see if you're able to hang around there after his first stutter step move.
Yeah, and I guess depending on what position you played, let's just take football. If you played quarterback, let's say you played it in grade school, high school, maybe you played in college, whatever you did, but you didn't play professionally. Think about like those drills in training camp, where it's not live, they're not hitting the quarterback, but you have X amount of time to read a defense and get rid of the football and go to the right place. That would be fun to do. Or whatever your position was, just take the physicality out of it as much as you can. You played linebacker in high school. Okay, guard this running back out of the back. See if you can hang with Austin Eckler for 3 passes, that type of thing. It would be so fascinating to be able to do that. And I'd love to.
Of accessibility, it's not going to be the same as an in-game environment, but I guess I don't know how high or how fast you can go within a batting cage, but I mean, that's probably the easiest in terms of feeling raw speed fly by you without needing to make the jump to the pros, right? That's not an opportunity that a lot of people could get, but you go to a batting cage, put some coins in, and then see how good you really are, I guess.
Isn't that amazing, too, where in the batting cage, whatever, you get in the 80-mile-per-hour cage. It's 80 miles per hour down the middle every time.
Yep.
Well, depending on the batting cage you go to, there might be one right at your eyeballs, one of the pitches, but for the most part, right down the middle. And think about the movement in MLB, how they mix and match pitches, like the off-speed stuff. Then you get the gas, like that. It's such another level, man. The pros make it look so easy. Anybody who does their craft well makes it look easy. A great stand-up comedian makes it look easy. Yes. Like a great golfer makes it look like, you could just go to the local muni and tear it up. It's not like that at all, man.
And going back to Jalen Hood-Schifino, if you're on a path where you, let's say, have had an entire career in stand-up comedy, or you've had an entire career in whatever profession you want to pick, your hope is that as you've grown at each level, you continue to have the same level of work ethic and commitment to your game if you want to succeed at the highest level of the profession. Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to have to carry that same type of work ethic, that same will to learn and grow that he had in his 1 year at Indiana, that he's had throughout his AAU and high school career, to be able to make it present and succeed in the NBA.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. That's the difference is If you got to do that, you're trying to score on an NBA player, like you get 3 chances to do so. Think about the fun things that they do during a game. It's like, hey, ride this tricycle, see if you can beat the other guy, or, try to make a couple of free throws and try a half-court shot and that type of thing. If they had, hey, try to score on Giannis Antetokounmpo, you get 3 opportunities like that type of thing. But the thing that's different is you just go back to your occupation.
Yep.
I go back to being a radio host. You go back to being a doctor, whatever you are,
sure.
Whoever's listening. Like, this is Jalen Hood-Schifino's profession now. And he's going to have a couple of humbling experiences, as all these guys do. Yeah. Unless you're a superstar walking into the league, everybody gets humbled.
Yeah, regardless of all the hype that surrounds you when you're finally drafted, all the nice pieces that come out from the organization that takes you, if you're not willing to put in the time, it's not going to matter, and you're going to flame out, and you're going to be a what could have been, and all the what ifs. Oh, he should have stayed at Indiana another year, or he should have been there longer. That'll follow you, and that's the risk reward of this profession. We don't talk about it a ton other than draft season, but it's a valuable aspect of where careers are broken or made.
You know what I would like is a piece I always talk about you're welcome to the NFL, or you're welcome to the NBA moment. And it's always like a good player, but not a spectacular player. Or maybe it's an average player. You're always talking to like Brian Scalabrine. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, dude, I got to the NBA and this, I went and tried to defend Shaq and it didn't go well. You know what I mean? I would like Shaq's welcome to the NBA moment. You know what I mean? Like, I would like LeBron's welcome to the NBA moment, because even the superstars, they had those humbling experiences. Everybody gets dunked on or crossed over or whatever in the NBA, or even those guys. I would love to hear it, because you never do with the superstars.
And the problem is you need the certain level of authenticity and honesty to be present there, right? Because a lot of it's easy to fall into that trope of, if you're a superstar, never really had that, never feared anybody.
No.
I'm sure if you dug far enough, you'd find a highlight play from Cleveland in a random game in December where LeBron got juked or got miscommunication on defense. It happens. It happens to everybody in the league.
There was a funny story with Kenny Anderson. You remember Kenny was a really good point guard, played at Georgia Tech, played in the league, the association, I should say, for a long time. And he's coaching college basketball right now. And there was a story I read recently, and one of the guys on the bus on his team was like, you ever play against Michael Jordan? He's like, oh, yeah, many times. It's like, did he ever dunk on you? He's like, oh, no, never happened. And the kid on his phone has YouTube. He's like, what's this? He's like, you got me. You caught me. All right, fine. It did happen once. Brian Noe and Jimmy Cook with you here, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Also, Zach Edey. He's named nearly unanimously the AP Men's College Basketball Player of the Year. 58-person media panel. He got all but one vote. That one vote went to Trace Jackson Davis, obviously of IU. Always interesting. I feel like every now and then I'm on an island with some of my takes over here. But when you're the one person who didn't vote for the guy, I don't know. Trace Jackson Davis had a great season, but he did more than Zach Edey did? I mean, come on. There's a reason why 57 people saw it with Zach Edey and one person saw it with Trace Jackson Davis.
I don't know if they release or if it's public where the votes came from. I know like with some MVP awards, like in the professional level, they'll reveal that. So I don't know where it came from, but assuming for the sake of argument, it did not come from the Bloomington Herald, or it did not come from the Star somewhere locally. Something was a national writer. Would I have voted for Trace Jackson Davis even as an IU alum? Probably not, because of the full season that Zach Edey had. But it's not a total name out of a hat. He was in that conversation, or at least being put in that conversation nationally by a lot of different well-reputable organizations at about the midway point of the year. He still had a great season. And if you are a wins or individual player stat guy, went 2-0 against Zach Edey this year. So, they both had scoring fest. It wasn't like he locked him down, though. So take it for what you will.
When you're saying that with the smile on your face, you know what I mean? Where it's like, if I were to make a devil's advocate argument, this is the best I can do.
Sure. He was at least a candidate, though. His name was at least in every Wouldn't Watch award. Like, if that's what you believe, totally support. I'm sure there's a good backing for why they went there. Maybe I could get around to it, but your overall point there, it's a lonely island to be on when you're the only one that did it and you get those near unanimous. And one guy did it and he picked the big man at my rival school. What's going on there? So
it really does depend on how good of an argument you can make. They were just showing highlights of Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, as you call him, Judgy.
Yeah.
Your guy, Yankees fan over there, Jimmy Cook. But I still believe that Shohei Ohtani was the AL MVP last season. And I get why he wasn't, and I get why overwhelmingly the votes went to Aaron Judge because he had a sensational season and broke what many people think is the single-season real home run record with Roger Maris. I get all of that, but Ohtani was amazing as a hitter. Oh, and by the way, as a pitcher. I just think that's more valuable. I think you get more with that. I was in the minority, but at least you can make a good argument. So
sure.
I don't mind being on an island if I can at least make a good argument, but I don't think you can make a better argument for Trayce Jackson-Davis over Zach Edey. That's the thing. It's the difference between making a good argument and a better argument.
It would be very if there was a singular factor, like let's say for instance Trayce Jackson-Davis had displayed throughout the course of this season an ability to stretch the floor in such a way that differentiates himself from Zach Edey and also makes him a higher valued or higher level prospect in the NBA. Had there been one of those little nuggets, I could get behind it further. But what we're both saying here, at least what you're saying, they're both the same style of player. They both do pretty much exactly the same thing at a high level. Because Edey did it at a higher rate and probably a more efficient rate over the course of the entire season, your argument becomes less strong if you're in the Trayce Jackson-Davis camp.
What kind of numbers would Trayce put up if Jalen Hood-Schifino wasn't there?
It's a great question. I mean, you assume that almost everything is being, if not already, everything is being run through Trayce Jackson-Davis. You're asking for that anyway as an IU fan, but it's a good point.
It depends on if they played Fairleigh Dickinson in the NCAA tournament.
Sure, you got to factor that in, yeah.
And then at that point, he wouldn't have gotten a shot in the final 13-plus minutes, But otherwise, Eddie, I hear you on that one. Yeah, depending on who's around you, yeah, it absolutely impacts your numbers, but, we can only go by
what happened, yeah.
What is, yeah. What is the case. What I find really interesting is Zach Edey dominated in college this past season. Trayce Jackson-Davis was outstanding in college basketball this past season. And these guys are second-round projected picks? It's amazing how much it differs getting to the NBA, and it's just a different game, man. You got to shoot it. You got to shoot from outside, no matter who you are. Look at the bigs in the NBA. These guys, Valanciunas is taking threes last night against the Denver Nuggets from outside. These guys, Nurkic with the Blazers, these are big dudes.
Yeah.
Jokic, he didn't play last night, but he's taking threes. You got to be able to shoot it. That you are almost like an NFL fullback in a way, where that position has been by most teams just phased out if you're a big man that doesn't shoot it well from outside.
It's one of the craziest things within that sport as the game has evolved at one position. It's a great analogy, has gone the way of the fullback and is extinct. And to your point, if you're a fan of that old style of play, that's what makes the college game at times intriguing or reminds you of an older style of play, because it's weird. The dinosaurs, the meteors hit in the NBA. It's not there to this point in college. You can still thrive and be a high-level player of the year like Zach Edey was, but not be able to stretch the floor in that capacity. Same with Trayce Jackson-Davis, even though TJD has, at least he's on draft boards and is viewed as a potential lottery pick. But when you look at what that is now versus today, it's an entirely different game, college to the pros. It just is.
Well, and I also think if you make another comparison here, is we talk about this a lot with college football offensive linemen, that based on your scheme, a lot of these dudes, they're not ready to play offensive line in the NFL. If you run one of these air raid systems and you're never putting your hand on the ground, you're always in a 2-point stance, just ready to throw the ball again and again and again, you're not fully developed to be an offensive lineman stepping foot into the NFL. I think the same is true when it comes to a lot of big men in college not shooting the ball from outside. And this is not a diss on Matt Painter or Mike Woodson or any of these coaches, I think they're doing what they should do at the college level. You're trying to win games. But in terms of being prepared for the next level, it's not like Matt Painter is saying, hey, Zach, just shoot more threes. You know what I mean? Like, they're not encouraging Trace Jackson Davis to shoot 20-footers or 24-footers out. They're saying play to your strengths. But those guys are not developed for the NBA game, which is totally different.
You can still see, though, and it's a weird reality check moment for these bigs. If you're athletic and dynamic enough the way Trace Jackson Davis is, and I don't have a couple of these bigs numbers in front of me from beyond the arc, and they also both happen to go to Indiana, but I look at bigs like Cody Zeller, like Thomas Bryant, that have still been able to find roles that, at least to my knowledge, Bryant has gotten better at it as he's been in the NBA. You can find role player opportunities still in the league and thrive. However, it's a shorter ceiling than maybe what you would have hoped as you're a college athlete, and it's by far a shorter ceiling than the big mans would have had even 7 years ago.
Yeah, interesting conversation, man. It really is. It's Brian Noe and Jimmy Cook with you here on The Fan. Let's shift over to a guy I used to have respect for, this NFL guru. He goes by the name of Mel Kiper Jr. You know what he's done with his big board here, Jimmy?
What did he do this time?
He is
Where's Lil
flip-flopped.
Levis?
He's flip-flopped 2 quarterbacks. He now has, number 1, Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia. Will Anderson Jr., edge rusher, Alabama.
This is best available, just to be clear,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yep. Number 3, Bryce Young, Alabama. Number 4, Will Levis, Kentucky. Wow. He flip-flopped 3 and 4, Jimmy. Jimmy, what has changed? What has changed from the last time he wrote a piece like this on ESPN.com? Huh? What has changed?
You will have to forgive me. The last piece I saw of his, I did not know that he had Will Levis ahead of Bryce Young. So
he did.
So I don't have as fuel to the fire as you do, in part because I agree with the swap. Perhaps maybe he saw the light. I mean, that's the best I can come up with.
No, I think he's part sheep right here. I think he's part sheep. He's just, he's Mel Kiper Jr. going along with the flock over here. He's following how fashionable it is to bash Will to throw Levis. But he mentions this, just a couple of the Cliff's notes here, what Kiper writes about Bryce Young. He's one of the best processors I've scouted over the past decade. That's high praise. The questions about Young are purely related to his size. Almost identical measurements to Kyler Murray at the 2019 Combine right there. Isn't that really puts it in perspective? They're both 5'10". Kyler Murray is 207 pounds. Bryce Young, 204. Very, lower body, Kyler Murray, he's just more solid than Bryce Young is. But isn't that crazy to think about? Bryce Young, he looked undersized in college, but Kyler Murray looks like mini-me out there in the NFL. That's what Bryce Young is going to look like.
Look, it is an island take here for me now because, it's not present anymore. You've seen the regression from Kyler Murray, particularly last season. I always really enjoyed watching Kyler Murray play, particularly his first 2 seasons in the league, and then you have the whatever the clause was about needing to watch film, and then you have all these former executives or former coaches or former
maybe the
players.
Fortnite clause.
Yeah, the Fortnite clause. I like that. That's nice. But then you have former players say, the guy's like a diva, he needs to grow up.
Right.
And again, those are all massive red flags. But in terms of the dynamicness that he showed at times, as long as you take away the bad characteristics, I don't necessarily think that's an unfair comp to Bryce Young, and I don't think it should be necessarily painted in a negative light.
No. Yeah, well, hey, I'm not saying that Bryce Young is playing Fortnite and not studying. I don't know. Some people, I always say this.
But the diva thing is worse for me. I don't care.
Sure.
You should still put in your time to study. I'm not downplaying that, but if you're approaching a locker room cancer territory after all the money you just made, then that's a problem.
But that's the thing. This is the golden rule with comparisons.
Sure.
I tell people this all the time. Maybe because I make a lot of comparisons and people twist it into something it never was. I say it's not about who you're comparing. It's how you're comparing them. So it's if we're just talking about both quarterbacks being 5'10" and about the same weight, That's the comparison.
Right.
It's not about study habits and video game clauses or study clauses. It's nothing. It's just based on dimensions, that and that alone, you know?
And I'm not trying to clean it up for you. The only thing I was trying to clean up for the audience is you hear Kyler Murray's name nowadays, and that's not what pops in your head. People don't hear, oh, it's a size comparison, it's a frame comparison, it's maybe a play style comparison. They hear work ethic, they hear drama, and
no.
That's the part I'm trying to clean up. That's not what you were saying.
Okay.
I just mean for the audience what I was trying to clean up there.
Gotcha. It's Jimmy Sanitation Cook.
Doing what I can. I'm doing the dirty work sometimes. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Here's what Mel Kiper Jr., half sheep, wrote about Will the Thrill Levis. He said, Levis's stats won't blow you away, but he didn't have a great supporting cast of playmakers around him. Amen, Kiper Jr. He got that right. But when I went through and watched all of his stats, his starts at Kentucky, I was really impressed with his game. He talked about he makes some wow throws, rocket launcher for an arm that has gotten the Penn State transfer into trouble at times, Kiper Jr. writes. But it's clear watching him that he believes he can fit the ball into any window. My comparison for him is Matthew Stafford. And he also wrote, Levis can maneuver the pocket and throw on the run. Many of Levis's turnovers came when he tried to use his arm to force throws. He is the real deal, though, and there are lots of Levis fans in the NFL. I haven't run across these people who are big fans. Maybe they're of the silent variety or the anonymous source variety, but at least Mel Kiper Jr. is hearing some people wax poetic about Levis there.
That has to warm your heart.
Well, hey, man, some people are accurate. It's good to know there's accuracy out there somewhere. But, so I would say half sheep, half Australian shepherd for Mel Kiper Jr. I don't like that he is sheepishly flip-flopped Bryce Young and Will Levis when nothing has really changed at all. But he is half Australian shepherd because he is saying positive things and at least has Levis rated ahead of C.J. Stroud, and a lot of people don't have that.
Well, at least he didn't do what I've seen from some mock drafts on ESPN and other networks where they have the quarterbacks going in some form, Stroud, Young, Richardson, and then no other teams trading up, and all of a sudden it's the 15th pick before Will the Thrill Levis finds his place in the NFL. At least he didn't go that route.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing a lot of these mock drafts. They've got Levis going 19th overall to Tampa. That's the other thing, though, is what is the major curveball? Either it's whatever. It's Anthony Richardson going number 2 to Houston. And you're like, whoa, like what greatly differs from the mainstream mock drafts? Because it happens a lot. Is it Levis plummeting? Think about last year's draft. Most people thought there would be multiple first-round quarterbacks. There was one guy in Kenny Pickett, and we had to wait to the 3rd round for other guys to come off the board. That was it. There was one guy in the first 2 rounds. So I'm just so curious with the curveball. The major one is going to be quarterback-wise in this draft.
I think that either Richardson or Levis, whichever one is left without a dance partner, I can get behind and believe that they're going to fall into the teens or beyond, either one of them, if they are not picked in that first wave of quarterbacks.
I mean, I just think of the Raiders. I mean, they're 7th overall, and they have Jimmy G right now. You know what I mean?
And they've mocked that. That's the safety net, right? That's been the one spot where Levis or Richardson, because they can get out of that Garoppolo deal next year, right?
They could, but that's the thing is, if you're the Raiders and you're enamored, you're enamored, especially if it's Anthony Richardson with all these tools and that screams Raiders. Yeah. And even Levis does, I think, with the rocket launcher of an arm and the upside. You're not going QB. What's the plan? In my mind is, are you just trying to lose and get either Caleb Williams or Drake May the next year? If you're the Raiders and one of these two guys falls to you at 7th overall, I just have a hard time seeing them pass.
It'll be fascinating. Again, I was just trying to give you one that could really surprise me or would be shock value on draft day. There's always those free fall moments for prospects. I mean, the Raiders are a tough one to get a read on in particular because
they're the Raiders.
Either the Raiders, and even with Sean Payton coming in, not Sean Payton, even with Josh McDaniels in there another year, and even with Jimmy Garoppolo rather coming in, I still view them as bottom of the AFC West and in this same spot next year. So maybe they are waiting for another QB.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, coming up next, Frank Martin Head coach at UMass made a Final Four run with South Carolina. Diehard Dolphins fan, Jimmy. We'll break down Tua, the prospects of them winning the AFC East, and we'll kind of like throw in some college basketball at the end. Sound good to you?
That sounds good to me.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Your joints are talking to you.
5, The Fan.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. Frank Martin's probably watching Dolphins game film right now, preparing for the season. We'll catch up with him hopefully here in a minute or two. But there was, I just saw, Jimmy. I'll do my best play-by-play impression here. This was the Dodgers game last night. So there was a fan who ran onto the field. He's just in left field, and he's proposing to his girlfriend who's in the bleachers. So picture this. He jumps down somehow, and he's on a knee. He's like, "Will you marry me?" from pretty far away. And so everybody's got their phones in left field in the crowd like, "Hey, it's Jake. He's doing it." Like, whatever. He's proposing on the field. This security guard, Jimmy, comes out of nowhere. He looks like an NFL linebacker with a form tackle. This guy, again, is on one knee proposing from far away. Decleats this guy, like knocks him into next week. Oh, my gosh. I can't imagine the ring stayed in the box. What if the ring is lost on top of that?
It's a dangerous situation, but I guess the piece of advice I'd give to that young man, there's a reason you don't go onto the field in any capacity, and don't turn your back to security if you're going to go on the field, because never know where that pressure is going to come from. Oh, I haven't seen the video yet. I know you sent it to us, but we were joking over break. It's as wild as that police chase out in California where the guy jumped out of a moving cop car at 50 miles an hour. I mean, just a lot of confusing decisions made by all parties of the last couple of days.
Yeah, I don't know if that was in the Fresno area, but I worked in that area. One of the guys I know there, he was the one who tweeted that video out. So it's probably in Central California. This guy stole a cop car and for whatever reason, like Jimmy just said, jumped out of it, going about 54 miles per hour. And you can imagine how that went. Not well at all. I saw a tweet here, Jimmy. This was funny. Who were we talking to the other day that was talking about Bono? Remember, he was talking about the jacket that had lasers coming out of it.
I think it was Joel Erickson. I think.
I don't know if it was Joel or it might have been Joel. I'm not sure who it was, but anyway,
it was either Joel or it was Matt Norlander. I can't remember which one.
No, it definitely wasn't him.
Okay,
it wasn't Kravitz. Guessing. Are you sure it wasn't Kravitz? It was either Joel or Kravitz. I can't remember.
I think it was Joel.
Might have been Joel. So Adam Schefter tweeted this out. He wrote, Giants president John Mara told SiriusXM NFL that his head coach Brian Daboll is a rock star, but it comes with trappings. We kid him, this is a quote, we kid him right now. He's Bono walking around New York City. But as I've told him, in this business, it doesn't take long to go from Bono to Bozo.
Well done. Well done.
It's pretty good. We just need the rim shot at the end, but I thought a pretty admirable job.
Look, at a minimum, if you have the opportunity to, regardless of who you're clowning around with in your organization, if you're making press statements or comments to the press, you got to have a good one-liner in the arsenal in some capacity, and that's a good one, no less.
It is true. I know it's one of these one-liners and almost like a dad joke, if you will, but it is so true. Like Brian Daboll, he got a lot of props, and rightfully so last year. What he meant for Daniel Jones' development, the Giants quarterback, he did a lot of good for him. And that's the hope in Indianapolis, is that Shane Steichen can come here and mold whatever rookie quarterback they get. And that's the assumption right now. That's what they do. But Brian Daboll meant a lot to Daniel Jones' development. He looked like a completely different quarterback. And I think Josh Allen took a step back a bit. Not by leaps and bounds with Buffalo, but a bit. You could tell that he was working with Ken Dorsey and not Brian Daboll anymore. So, yeah, like Brian Daboll. But that's the thing is, you can go from the toast of the league to what is this freaking clown doing in 2023? Yep. It can move that fast.
And my issue with it, and this is thinking big picture for the Colts, maybe I'm in the minority on this train. I would not have signed Daniel Jones long-term. I think he's an average NFL quarterback. I mean, I guess the evaluation, I'm not even talking about other quarterbacks comparison. I just thought it was a lot of money for a QB that's had one or two good years over his young career, but not elite level play by any means. So you mentioned it turns on a dime. We will see very quickly. Here's my owner plug here, Brian. We'll see very quickly if Danny Dimes is going bankrupt this year for the Giants. There you
go.
Look
there's
at
you. I gotta get the rim shot.
My rim shot. There you go.
Yeah, and it's one of these deals where, 15 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions for Daniel Jones. Nice.
Yeah.
Not even close to Carson Wentz's 2021 season of 27 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions, but
it's a high bar that was set that season. Yeah. Memorable season, one of the greatest of all time. Not talked about enough.
Not true. No, don't muddy the waters with hyperbole over here. It was just a solid season.
You're right. Your actual statement about it being the most underrated season in NFL history was not hyperbolic at all.
No. That is absolutely on point. That is truthful. It is right on the money. I'm like, these freaking guys, Jimmy and Edey, I'm going to dig into the stats. I dug and looked at more things. I'm even more secure with my position right now. More secure.
The 2-5 in one possession games with our larger point of head-scratching, boneheaded decisions from this guy didn't factor
just
into your research
all
at all?
On Wentz. Just totally on Wentz right there. All of it. Anything that went to hell, Wentz. Anything that was good, Jonathan Taylor.
Now you're muddying my argument. You're not muddying the national argument, but you're muddying my argument. I told you I think he got too much of the slack. I think he was overblown the amount of hatred that he got. I don't think that all of it was unwarranted, however. I think his hands were not clean from the issues the Colts had down the stretch of that season.
Fair. He had some dirt on his hands. I won't say that his play was spectacular or perfect. Of course it wasn't. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. If he has dirt on his hands, he's got some dirt on, he's a couple of digits over there, the pinky and the ring finger. You need to brush that off.
Yeah.
The other hand, you got the index finger right there. People are acting like his hands are caked in mud. You know what I mean? In terms of what his production was in 2021. It's not accurate. There's one other thing here, Jimmy, where we were talking about Drew Holiday the other day when he scored 51 points against the Pacers. And I didn't even know this. You're big into the NBA. I am too, but I didn't know this. Maybe I've been sleeping. But I was looking at Drew Holiday, what he's done, and the awards that he's gotten. 2-time NBA All-Star. And then he's been on first and second team all defensive squads as well. He's done that 4 times, 2 for each. I didn't know about this too. He won the Sportsmanship Award in 2021, and he was named the Teammate of the Year in 2 of the last 3 seasons. I didn't even know they did that. Did you know they give a Sportsmanship and a Teammate of the Year award in the NBA?
I remember it now that you say it, and I do think, and Edey, I defer to him in general in this area as well. That's a relatively new award, is it not?
Well, here's the thing. I've done some digging here. Yeah.
You gave me a side eye. Is that not relatively new? Okay, shrug of the shoulder. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
You did some digging. What'd you find?
Okay, so the Sportsmanship Award, the first guy who won it, Joe Dumars.
Wow.
Of the Pistons in 95-96. The Sportsmanship's been around. The Sportsmanship Award's been around
for my life.
Yeah, think about that. The 95 season, that's the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. That's how long the Sportsmanship Award has been around in the NBA.
Shows what we know.
Yeah, now the Teammate of the Year award, that hasn't been around as long. It started in 2012-13, that 2012-13 season. The first winner of the NBA Teammate of the Year award, Chauncey Billups of the LA Clippers.
Wow.
That's your trivia nugget of the day.
I'm going to pocket that and use it at a sports bar at some point in time when it's trivia night. That's a kind of you to give that for free.
Who was the first Teammate of the Year award given to in the NBA? Chauncey Billups. Other award winners, how about this? Shane Battier, former Teammate of the Year award winner. Tim Duncan, Vince Carter of the Memphis Grizzlies. Dirk, Jamal Crawford, Mike Conley Jr., shout out. He won it. Drew Holiday, 2 of the last 3 years, and Damian Lillard. Dame won it a couple of years ago.
I think the top hardware that I associate with Drew Holiday is his defensive first team and second team appearances. And obviously, I'm going back now, but I just remember when they were kind of cleaning everything up. He'd won it in 18 and in 19, been on those teams, I should say, not won it, but been a part of those teams. And then their championship year in 2021, when he was as good defensively as he's ever been in his career, is the year they won it all. I mean, you'd be very hard-pressed to find true criticisms that would be accurate about Drew Holiday over this stretch of the last 3 or 4 seasons, 5 seasons with Milwaukee.
Yeah, he's been a really, really solid player. So the question is, if we spin it forward, what are the Pacers going to do tonight? They're facing OKC as I'm browsing DraftKings over here. They've got a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander point total here at 31.5. So expecting to see some SGA tonight against the Pacers. I'm looking for Josh Giddey. They don't have anything on Josh Giddey posted yet. He might erupt, but what do you think about it? Well, he might be out, but they've got it listed on DK. Like normally they're on the money with these things. Yeah. But they have it at 31.5 for SGA tonight. You're saying take the under there, Edey?
Oh, well, they just upgraded him to questionable. He was recently ruled out. I guess they changed their mind.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be playing. So if you're going to check out the Pacers tonight, might be able to see SGA, who is a really solid player. He is an absolute scorer. And I think the only reason he's so underrated is because he plays for OKC. Yeah. If he played for one of these top-end teams, he'd be getting so much more shine right now.
Well, he was for a second there, right, before the Paul George trade. And then that's obviously where he ends up when they send him to Oklahoma City. And it's one of those examples, Brian, of a player that has all those, like, wow, this guy is an incredible passer, and he's great off the dribble, and he does all these things well as a floor general. If you're not a hardcore NBA fan and you're not watching the Thunder on a Wednesday night, might not be aware of what he does on the floor. If you're a Pacers fan going tonight, obviously you're rooting for the hometown team, or maybe you're not because you want the ping pong balls. But Shea Gilgeous-Alexander will be a fun watch, no doubt about that, if he is out there.
Yeah, and that's where we're at. We're team ping. Yeah. We want more ping pong balls.
We got the hats ready to go.
So it is kind of weird. You might be decked out in Pacer stuff at the game tonight, cheering loudly like, get him again, SGA. Give him more points over here. So the Pacers lose, you get more ping pong balls. It's weird. I admit it's a weird spot to be in, but that's the way it is when you're looking at the long haul and trying to get as great of a draft pick as possible, as high of one as you can.
To kind of bring everything full circle with our conversations today, Adrian Wojnarowski tweeting just a few seconds ago from ESPN sources that discussions on lowering the minimum age to enter the NBA draft are no longer a part of the league's labor talks with the NBPA, clearing the way for the one-and-done era to continue for the foreseeable future. So there you go. There's that.
That's crazy because they've talked for so long about no longer having the one and done. And now they're just like, yeah, we'll punt on that again. That's surprising based on all the noise right? They've talked about changing it for a long time now.
The rumbles have gotten louder and louder over the last 4 or 5 seasons. And again, I've not clicked the story yet. That's just for sake of time. Woj condensing it and giving the important points in that tweet. But I'll be interested to look into that as to why it got removed off the docket if we learn as to what the rationale or the reasoning was by both the NBA and the NBPA.
Wow, interesting. By the way, how about Adam Wainwright, St. Louis Cardinals starting pitcher, singing the national anthem yesterday? Really cool. Love Waino, love the Redbirds. Awful job. Awful rendition. Terrible. Needs to sit in front of a piano, try to match pitch. I don't know what was going on, man. Very pitchy yesterday singing the anthem. Even though it was very, very cool. Very cool. I don't want to turn a positive to a negative, but I just can't help it. Like, that was freaking awful. My ears were ringing after that thing. It was nails on the chalkboard.
Now I'm going to have to look it up when I leave the studio because I've not heard it yet. And I guess I have something to not look forward to per your evaluation of that rendition.
It wasn't quite, and the Rockets, red glare.
Right.
You've heard that before. Yes. It wasn't quite that bad, but not a ton better. Not a ton better. My dad sent me that because we're big Cardinals fans. Sure. He grew up just outside of St. Louis in a town called Alton, Illinois. And he sent me that. I didn't have the heart to say, I don't know what I sent. Here, let me get it real fast. Let me see what I don't know if I texted it to him or emailed it. Here we go. I'll get it real fast. This is great radio. Great radio.
Beautiful.
Thank me later. But yeah, I put, it's cool he performed the anthem. Not the smoothest rendition, but it's awesome he sang on opening day. See, that was the compliment sandwich right there.
It was.
Positive, criticism / negative. Bookend it with positivity.
Your sandwich on air felt like a day-old version of that. It felt a little bit more raw and spoiled slightly.
Yeah, that was the diss sandwich right there.
Yeah,
the compliment was in the middle, and you don't even remember it. Okay, coming up next, real name or stage name? We'll explain. We'll have some fun. We'll get some betting advice for you as well. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Imagine the possibilities of
7-5, The Fan.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. So shout out to Dusty May of Florida Atlantic, making it to the Final Four, the head coach. He went to the same high school as JMV, or JMV went to the same high school as Dusty May, but Eastern Green High School in Bloomfield, Indiana. So there was a piece in the Indy Star about this. Very cool. JMV, very proud of Dusty May making it all the way there to the Final Four. It was a fun read, and what stood out to me is that it showed that JMV, in the piece, it mentioned JMV's real name. Like JMV has a stage name. And so we thought we would do a little funny game over here real quickly of real name or stage name. Edey Garrison will do the honors over here. Very much looking forward to this. How are we setting this up here, Edey? What do you think?
Oh, nice. I like that. So here's the first name. I'll start it. This is your little neck of the woods. Gene Simmons.
Real or stage name?
Yeah.
Real.
I'm going to say stage.
Brian is correct. Chaim Witz is his actual name.
Wow.
Would never guess that. Okay.
Guy Fieri.
Real.
I'm going to say real also.
Stage. It is Guy Ramsey Ferry.
And he went Fieri, I think is what he went. Okay,
did.
wow, yeah.
Put a little more flavor town on it.
A little
so to speak.
flavor, yeah, that's right.
Jackie Chan.
Okay, I'm sticking to my guns. Real.
I got to go stage.
Stage. Chan Kong Sang.
Whoa, yeah, that's a little bit different right there.
Last one, so we can get to the J. Cook plays of the day. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's easy. That's a changed.
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
Changed name.
Yeah. Do you know his first name?
Luell Cinder.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Give us one more. One more before the
One
plays.
more. Whoopi Goldberg.
Real.
I'm gonna go. I'll go staged again.
It is staged. Karen Johnson, and I think you were just being a
Karen
contrarian.
Johnson.
Yeah, a contrarian there to Jay Cook.
No,
The statistical odds of you picking the all stage names is wild. I went real every time, and they were all stage names. Well done on you.
Let's get to the plays real fast here.
The J. Cook plays of the day.
This is me, all right? I'm not a athlete. This is my way. This is how I win.
Today's plays of the day. Lakers on the money line over the Minnesota Timberwolves, laying the 5 for the Memphis Grizzlies. It's a shared pick between me and Brian against the LA Clippers.
No Kawhi.
No Kawhi. It's noted on the Clippers side. Over 239.5 is what I got for Pacers Thunder. Up to 241 now with potentially Shai Gilgeous-Alexander playing tonight. Final four, Florida Atlantic and Miami win it outright. Moneyline bets, all Florida for the title on Monday night. Plays
Florida Atlantic and Miami.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Anything for you, Edey? I know we got to run, but
I got
you cashed
two, and
in.
I'll get them to you real quick. Andrew Nimhart over 20.5 points plus assists, and Tyrese Maxey over 2.5 threes.
Very nice. All right, everybody enjoy your weekend. Keep it locked right here. JMV coming up. We'll catch